All right, what's going on, guys? Coming back to again, it's going to be episode number 13, moving right along. Episode number 12 is definitely going to be up by the time this hits with the Antonio Chester that is rolled out of here the other day. Again, I got one of my other good buddies here, Mike Hendrix. He's going to introduce himself a little bit, then we'll get right into it as always. Again, guys, the way to grow this thing is just to go ahead and share it around. Don't force it down anybody's throats, but I mean, hey, if you want to see a real conversation, non-biased, I don't have any sponsors or anything like that yet, so it's just like yeah, just share it around. It's good stuff. More stuff to come and everything. So, Mike, just go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, and we'll get into it, man.
Not really much to say, man. I mean, I've prior service, you know. Got to Japan back in '96. Ended up getting married and staying here after about 13 years of service. I got hurt, so I got put out. So
yeah.
But yeah, other than that, just sitting here chilling, like everybody says. They call it living a dream. I just call it living a struggle, you know.
So I mean, you've been in Japan for a while. That's the biggest thing I want to get you on here for, because like I like to talk to a lot of people for the for like pretty much like to see like how, I mean, because you've been here like longest for the person I know personally, you've been here the longest, and how everything's changed. The biggest thing from like between like Okinawa to Japan. I've never been to Okinawa before, so I don't know how it is down there. And then Misawa itself, how it's changed and everything, man. So yeah, I mean, what's the biggest thing you've seen, change-wise, tuner-wise, and mod-wise and stuff like that?
Well, you know, I got to Okinawa in '96, and I was always into cars, and not really how I would say. I wouldn't say I was into cars like because I wanted to be when I was a kid. I mean, you know, my grandfather had a used car lot, and I've told these people the story before. I was 8 years old, and he was into Cadillacs, and he lifted the hood on a '76 Cadillac and gave me some plugs, tools, oil, and filter.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and just told me to do it, and then left me. Yeah, I didn't get it done in a day. Yeah. And so by the time I was 16, I wasn't really into cars, but I knew how to work on them. So, you know, getting your ride back then was great. And so when I got over to Japan and Okinawa, the drift scene was kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was already going on in Japan, but in the States, there was really nobody really talking about it. You didn't see it too much. I mean, the 240s were rolling around, but guys were still rocking the old school Zs and stuff. Yeah. And I got to Okinawa, and, you know, they were running, you know, small tires, small wheels.
That's what I was about to say, the 15s.
Yeah, 15s and big balloon tires, like 55, 60, 65, you know.
Kind of wild, like when I had those 15s on the Skyline, everybody's like, what's going on here? I'm like, they don't know. Yeah.
When they would rock, like, heavy camber. But I think the biggest one, not only in the style difference, because Okinawa style and mainland style are two different things. And I tell people this all the time. You got to be careful calling Okinawan. Yeah, you got to be careful calling it Okinawan Japanese, because they might take offense to it. But down there, they was sliding big bodies a lot more. Like, I mean, and it wasn't like your regular.
So pretty much like the third, because you know, like up here now the Chasers is a big, so that started pretty much.
Oh yeah, they were down there in '96. They were definitely sliding down there, and the scene was wild. I mean, we had Aja and Senga, and most Americans didn't have squat. You know, guys are like, well, y'all could have bought a car in '96. Most of these cars were still new. Yeah. You know, a GTST Skyline was still $8,000 to $10,000. Most Americans had stuff like you know, a non-turbo Silvia or, you know, a GTS R32. You know, they didn't have nothing. But we'd go out to the port and then go over to the island and watch them slide, and it was always wild. And the danger element was a lot heavier too, because in certain areas, like, they drifted down a cliff, man. Literally, there was no guardrail, and there was times we watched cars they'd go off the edge, and luckily we only had one car roll. Most of them would come off, and it's a gravel downward, and it's about a 50-foot drop, and they would just slide all the way down.
One thing I heard about, again, I've never been there before. I heard that the what's the deal with the roads and everything with they mix moss or coral?
I don't know what they put in. We called them Coral Road. This is like this red rubbery stuff, and used to it wasn't out at Aja. And that was the big area. You know, we'd park on the corners, we'd flash lights if traffic was coming, hit the high beams, and the guys would slide. And the trick with it back then, and I did it on one of my set of wheels that I had, you know, I'd put the reflective tape on the wheels. And the Japanese cats, they would do this, and the American guys would do it to copy them, but they really didn't understand the idea. The idea was to show them that e-brake wasn't locked, that you could see the wheels still spinning.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, so before they started laying that coral down, man, the cops would show up like after 3 hours of just nonstop, just destroying the roads. Yeah. But the guys back then, they would stick their hands out the window. they would turn their blinkers left and right, they would hit their hazards. They would do all this stuff to show that even while they were in mid-slide and just smoking up these tires, they were in control of the car. And so it was a big deal. And then they laid this rubbery coral stuff road more or less, and they laid it in diagonals.
So that was supposed to stop the
it was just supposed to stop them and too much traction. Man, gearheads, man.
Yeah,
they'll figure out
a way.
So they did it in diagonals. So these dudes got so good that they could keep their back tires in between the slats, and then it would just be like, just kind of hop over it. And then I guess the cops and them got mad, so then they made these big squares, and that didn't stop them. So when they was sliding, it was just like them going over small speed bumps.
Yeah.
But they just
you're not going to stop the street guys in the I compete like loosely. It's like there's a different world, man. Like I went to a few street things here, and I did some street drifting for people. I remember I wrecked the S13. That was shitty. And basically, like it was different, man. Because normally the guys go from the street to the track, and then they're kind of like discombobulated. I went from the track to the street, and it's different. It's like it's actually slower than the track. Because of course you're drifting out there, and the dudes, I didn't know why they would call me Baka. They was like, they asked me how fast I was going. I was like 3rd gear. He's like, dame. And I was like, Daijibu. And he's like, nah, it's too hot because the car was 600 horsepower. And sure enough, he's like, then they looked. I looked over at them. And he's like, yeah, that's why we were telling you to slow down. And I put that car down a fucking ditch, man. So nobody's perfect, and I got out of the situation without getting kicked out of Japan, and I haven't street drifted since, and I will never street drift again, man. So, but yeah, man. And then you got from that, like I didn't know Okinawa was like that. Then when you got to Misawa when?
December of the 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
And how was, because I heard it was like down at Hachinohe, it was like dudes bringing cars up from Tokyo and all types of shit like that.
Yeah. So, and you'll have them on later, Gammy and Twan, I called them the Mad Titans. Them dudes used to be out there sliding.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna try to get them in a tandem. I just got to get another board to accept multiple mics. So I think I'm gonna try to work that out, because having both of them in tandem, I think, would be a lot better than just one.
But those were two real laid back guys, and they were really in with the locals, and they could slide. And there was 2 sections when you got out there to Hachinohe, and when we talked to the young guys, and I'm like, you're not going to be lucky like us, and you're not ready. I tell them all the time, you plan to go play in the streets, you might as well break out your checkbook, write a check, and put it on the counter. I was like, and that check, you just better be ready to cash it if you get caught.
Or just part out.
Yeah, it's just part out.
Yeah.
But, they would go out there, back in the day, they would slide, and we had this corner, man, and the Japanese, man, and everybody's like, oh, tandem or 3. You're talking about 8 cars, 10 cars going through this corner side by side by side.
Where it was, because I think it's been built up. Masawa's been expanding, so I don't where is it? Where is it's like going? Like you're going towards like the port area, right?
You're in the port area. Yeah. It's actually over close to the.
I only went there once, and then I think after that there was a Family Mart. Like it was a Family Mart like right here, on the left side, and everybody would park right there. And I only went there when it was a drag. Drifting never happened for me. That was already done by the time I got in 08.
Yeah.
So
it kind of died down then. So if you know where that little road on the backside here, and if you get to the light, they've built the Lawson up over here.
It's the one before that bridge where...
before you get to the bridge. If you hang a left and go there, that's the ferry. Well, that long strip there is we did Zero Yon, drag racing.
Yeah, I just want to went to.
It was from the back light before that one to where the Lawson was. Well, if you went straight through that light, there was a massive curve, and it was wide. You could literally fit 4 cars in it side by side. It was so wide. It was just banking curve. It was beautiful. And they would go down there, and they would haul. They would. And wrecks were common, but they weren't like what you'd normally see. One car would spin out, and maybe the first car would barely tap him. Yeah. And then, they would just all kind of spread. And, the community was pretty tight. We screaming stuff. Like, a lot of people are like, "Are you calling police and Keisatsu?" And no, you got that Yankee talk. They're screaming out "Mapo."
Yeah.
And then everybody knew it was like cockroaches with the lights come on, man. Just go. And, like, the busiest nights, man, like, we would see 100 cars over by the drag race. Yeah. And there was 2 separate areas for the drift. Was that curve, and then there was the flat port area where the foreign ships came in, like from France and stuff. And you find these French dudes out there in these boats, and the Japanese and the Americans would be out there sliding around these big barrels and these trailers and stuff.
You got a crowd and shit.
Yeah, and the most infamous night, and I'll do some name dropping. Lad Smith, who's still in the Air Force now. You got Twan and them, which they dodged it.
Yeah.
Oh man, the old squad. I mean, there was a whole.
So I know, like I didn't know. I talked to. I'll definitely have James on here. Definitely have. I know. I think he was down there.
Yeah. And so we had like this bomb night, and there was this Japanese cat. He had a Z31. It was red. And when I first got here in 2000, it was wintertime, so the drag racing hadn't started, and I didn't know the scene out here yet.
Right.
So I got taken out there right around May, and everybody, we called it going fishing. We couldn't let the base know what was going on.
Yeah.
And, I was still trying to get a car. And there was this old dude in his Z31, and he could do wheel stands in his Z. And I'm not kidding. He was raising the front end of the car off a foot off the ground when he would launch. And he was like the dude to beat. No, even G-Force up here that everybody talks about, they had Evos they brought up here, and he stomped them.
G-Force is they're closed or?
No, I think they're still tuning up in Almore.
Oh, Almore, okay. G-Force, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then they brought this, the closest car that ever got close to beating him, lost by a half car length, was a white FC with a convertible top. And that was the closest one. But, I mean, we seen stuff like a JMS. And back in the day, there used to be Auto Boy. You don't really see Auto Boy anymore. And
I just heard I heard it was so hot that guys are bringing up cars from trailer from like Sendai and below. Tokyo guys are coming up in magazine companies. And
oh, yeah. Dude, so there was companies like we had the Auto Boys Lime Green. And a lot of people don't know about it, but there was this Auto Boys Lime Green 180SX. And I knew the car before because they had brought it down to Okinawa on the street scene. And what they would do is they'd have it in all these parts, and it'd be tricked out, and they'd have a good driver. And then it'd be like, these are the parts. This is the tuning that can be done. This is what we offer.
Yeah, rolling publicity.
Yeah, and of course they were doing it on the streets because the track's not really available to us. And we'd have stuff. I mean, just insane cars. HKS Purple 33 came up here on a trailer. They brought it up on a flatbed and dropped it off.
Did it run?
Oh yeah, he ran a bunch of times, and he got his ass stomped by that Z31. I'm saying that dude was bad, and this is after he detuned it. He was launching and barely pulling the wheels off the ground, and was still beating it.
So this guy was it? I heard about that Z31 before, and I heard also about a 240. Was that guy like an older dude? Or?
Oh yeah, man. You figure I was in my mid-20s at the time, and this dude was definitely in his 40s. He never got out of the car. He'd never popped the hood, but it was just. Yeah.
Did he? I'm pretty sure he turned the one. Well, how was the Gaijins like? I mean, outside, you mentioned Greg Twan, those guys that were around and they're still around. The dudes who were like in, and I know Lad was here before and he's back, but the guys who would just like kind of go down there and they weren't really in you guys' circle. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the guy would like just wave them off, like I'm not gonna waste gas on you guys or whatever. Because it happened to me. I went down there and that dude's like nah, and then I had the 33. Then I raced the Chaser and beat him by like 3 cars. My 33 had about 340, 400, and then after he's like, okay, now he's like, and then he fucking beat me by 5 cars, dude. Rear wheel drive all 33. I was like, and then he just went back in line, like that was a fucking waste of time. So I was like, yeah, this is drag racing, man. Even in the States, man, because we had Maryland had Capital and stuff like that, and that's why I got out of it because I had it at the fastest I personally was 13.4. And I had a KET 180, not 180, but damn, I've been there too long. A 240, and there's a difference out there, man. So I had the 240, man. And I was like, man, it was to get a car fast, man. It just at that time, it took too much. And only reason I ran at 13 because I had blown suspension, so it emulated like the squat. So if I had coils, it would have been fucking stiff and everything. So and I had ball tires, MIR. So it was like a prep track, and I'm pretty sure you know John Shep Racing, DSM guy. Yeah. He had just run his like fastest world record, and I ran 2 cars after him. So it was like they laid the VST down, and so the ball tires act like slicks. And we let the fucking air out, and then the shitty blown suspension act like it was soft. So it just yeah. So I ran, and it was fucking breaking up and sputtering and shit. and then I come back like. I was like, man, this shit sucks. I was like at 13, and it was like 100 and some mile per hour. So I was like, the shittiness of it just kind of came together and worked out, man. But I mean, like I said, I definitely want to touch on for the. I mean, you mentioned like a lot of the drifting, like the Subaru thing, man. When did you get your first Subaru, and what like kind of like? Because I mean, after working on them, I definitely before I didn't understand. I mean, they got the little quirks, like for example, the rear knuckle long ass bolt. I don't like that with the rust. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, you see me driving a Euro 7 today, but if I had to choose like life or death gun in my head, I'm going to pick a Subaru, man. It's the transmission. Like I'll let you talk, man, but the transmission, the fact that I broke a diff on the highway and I got to my guide thing and swapped it out in like literally a couple seconds. The way that the diff is like a 2-part thing, instead of taking the whole thing down, you just unbolt that, and they designed to fucking come all the way out. so you could just slide down them. Like that shit was cool, man. So what about Subaru that like what is it about Subaru that made you cling to them?
I've always thought, the cars that are fun to drive. I'm big on what's fun to drive. And don't get me wrong. My wife, she's dead set against me having, the K cars. And I've driven Alto Works, Cappuccinos, Kappas, and those cars are like go-karts. They have maybe 100 horsepower, but they're like go-karts. It's a street legal go-kart, and they're really fun, but the old lady ain't gonna have it. But when I went to Okinawa, the 2.5 RS had came out.
Okay, pull a little bit closer.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So the 2.5 RS had come out, and I really liked the look of it. And my grandfather had this old, like a GL wagon, and it had 280,000 miles on it. And he drove the mess out of it. That's like a company car, man. And he just drove it, and it never broke.
Yeah.
And I got to drive it, and it just seemed kind of fun to drive. And all-wheel drive system was really cool because I'd be taking it everywhere, and I just had no fear in that car. I'm probably just young and dumb at the time. But I got over here, and then I was like, oh, they're turbo. What's going on with this? And then, everybody's like, 180s and Skylines and this. And then I got to look in, and, well, the Subarus had 282. And I was like, hold on, so I can have all-wheel drive and 280 horsepower just like they can, and it's a small car. And I got to look, and it was like 1,260 pounds or 1,260 kilos, soaking wet. And I was like, oh, well, I can start stripping that down and reduce it down quick.
Yeah.
So I didn't get my first one until 03.
Which one was it?
I was a black 94. It was my 2.2 that I ended up stroking. Okay. So I'd worked on them down in Okinawa with locals. I was big in with the local scene, and then a lot of guys get mad when I tell them, the Boso scene, because I did a lot of bike riding down in Okinawa because it was easier and you could bypass traffic. People used to get mad because you could pass people on the shoulder, even at stoplights, but it was legal. So you could go all the way to the front. So traffic was non-existent. You just go. But I'd worked with them and got to play with them, but I couldn't afford one because, 96 to 99, $10,000.
Yeah,
man.
back then,
Yeah, and so an E3 pay in the Air Force with my COLA, after taxes and everything, I was getting $480 paychecks on the 1st and the 15th. Well, that's... You're not balling.
So and that's like those dudes. That's like kind of speaking on that. The guys that are new and complaining about money, like dude, like you guys are, the cars are cheap now, and then you guys are getting paid a lot more money, man. So yeah, man. So pretty much from that point, like how soon after you got the car did you start doing a 2.2? And also I want you to talk about what, because I believe you're probably like you were the first.
I was second guy to
do
what we did over here. Yeah. So I got it, and not long after I had it. It had valve train oils, pretty heavy, and so I took it back to the dealer, which was my wife's uncle. And he's like, all right, we'll swap the motor, and he swapped it. I didn't even get it home, and then it was like valve train noise again. And I was like, all right, I've had enough of this. So we went back, and he was like, oh yeah, he said this is no good, and he's mad because they got it from an engine company. So then they brought me, it was an STI version 2 motor, and put it down and changed the ECU, and that was right around 04. And we were all the guys.
That was you knew Mibu before or after?
I knew Mibu before then. So at that time, we were all heavy into modifying, and you used to be able to go to Autobox and all them
before the JCI shit, man.
Oh yeah, before the JCI and the little K car and the DAD, and the VIP shit. You could go there and get performance parts easy, and they didn't care, man. I used to go there and have them change my oil. I'd take the oil that I wanted in the car and just pay them to change it because it was cool. But Mibu one day was like, Mike, check this out. And he had this, it's called Old Timer. It's a magazine here in Japan. And in there was a car just like mine, only it was white. And this Japanese cat had built this custom 2.2 stroker. Now, mind you, the 2.2 strokers from like HKS and all these other companies was right around $5,600. $5,600 flat out, no questions asked. And Mibu, he slid it over and showed me. And I was like, oh, where can we get this crank? And Mibu was like, oh, we can get it for $500. I got, the owner of Subaru up here. He can get you this crank. And I was heavy on Naziak at that time, and I started posting up, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And the guy's like, you can't do that. I said, I'm just going to have the machine work done. There's a guy that's already done it over here. And everybody told me, he's like, you can't put this phase 2 thrust bearings, and it can't be done. Even if you do it, it won't work. Blah, 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 blah. It's not going to happen. I bought the HKS pistons. I got that crank. I sent it down and had it knife edge and balanced and sent back up. Did the machine work to have it bored over, and then the machine work to move the bearings around. And we'll put it together. And we had issues. Like I kept blowing coil packs, and I was like, man, Well, I had bought an MSD specifically for that, so we had to yank the MSD out.
Okay.
So I wanted an upgraded turbo, but I didn't want to drop all this money. I wasn't balling. I was an E5, so I had money, but I didn't want to blow my whole wad.
So at that point, like to that point with the coil pack stuff, like how much did you have into it machine work wise at that point?
Between the crank
to get the rotating assembly.
Oh, just the rotating assembly, I had about 1,000 in it at that point. So these were all buddy hookups back then, you know. So, you know, Americans had like an up and down with tuner shops around here. There was guys that had the money and would drop the money, and then there were guys that would go in and toss around the idea and then get all this info.
Or fucking what try to prevent mod around it, or try to, which never fucking turns out good, man.
Yeah, so we did it, and I was like, all right, Mibu, what turbo? And he was like, he tossed around like the HKS GTRS, and I was like, well, what about the 2835? And he was like, well, that's a good turbo. So I was like, let me find one on Yahoo. And I found one, but it was for a SOAR. And I didn't pay attention to it, man. I was just like, oh, turbo, you know, I got meth injection I put in it, you know, and I'm all stoked. And I get this turbo. We make a custom mount to make it a rotated mount, front mount intercooler on it.
Yeah.
I got to look, and it's a 420 horsepower turbo. And it's like, all right, cool. So we got the old Profect B, and it had two buttons, one for high boost and one for low boost. You know,
dials.
Yeah, dials in, right? Yeah. Mibu dials it into 1, 2, and it kept blowing coil packs. So we figured it out, squared it away, and we got to driving it. And Mibu's like, oh, it's fast now.
Yeah,
it's fast. And he was like, yeah, it's fast. He's like, let's figure this out. So you got to realize Mibu did his drive from his old shop in Hatch. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand. This dude's crazy. You know, back then he was 50 years old already. Yeah. He's in his 60s now. This guy did an 11-minute run in a GTSD that he did an RB26 swap in from his shop in the middle of Hatch and Ojai to that convenience store, the old Circle K that's closed down. 11 minutes from one to the other. You don't know how fast you got to go.
That's why I never got a chance. I mean, I met him and his style, actually his style, and like when I met him, that was a confirmation that you didn't have to have all this shit. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure he has access to dynos if he want them, but like that dynos and shit like that don't fucking, it doesn't translate to the road. And that's where a lot of guys feel like they gotta be on a dyno, you gotta do all this. Same thing like I said, I always bring up running on the treadmill. This dude's on that base that can run on a treadmill for like fucking 40-50 minutes, but they can't run around base and shit like that. So the car being in ambient temps, and that was like his way of like, testing. Like, I know how fast it takes me to get there in a Honda City versus this car and everything, man. So it's, it's kind of old school tuning, man. The technology stuff I like, but it's like when all that shit doesn't work and the forms don't work, you gotta like just bust out the fucking the micrometers and go like that. So all right, I mean that was probably like, and then I'm pretty sure after you got all that shit done and drove it, did you post back on Naziok and like, hey guys?
Well, nah, I'd posted up. I'd gotten tired of it at that point. You know, everybody had their own thing going on. So once I'd got it built, and we got the tune down for the 1-2, and we tuned with you just street tune. Yeah. Eventually I got it on a dyno out at Akita, and the tune was pretty much spot on. I mean, there could be a couple of fine tune adjustments.
Yeah, definitely.
But we were already pushing over 4, and like that was not at the ragged edge, but it was like close. And Mibu has always been what I call a safe tuner. He always keeps that blanket, right. And that's a lot of people say this, and I'll tell you right now, everybody says that Japanese tune to the ragged edge. You are seeing the wrong kind of tuners. Japanese will tune safe to cover their own ass.
Yeah, because there's no warrant. There's no. Yeah, because even Igarachi's the same. Like when I was doing that 33 up there, the guy didn't do the head gasket at the time, and we were already pushing 18. He was like, dame, like because he's like, that liability. And then at the shop, I mean, of course, the customer's definitely most some of them are fucking level headed. But most of them are gonna try to push that, on them. So you gotta cover yourself, man. So yeah, like I said, I didn't. So we're like, speaking of Mibu, man, where is he? Because I know that the situation with the shop thing really sucked and stuff like that, man. It's like life is going good, and then bam, some dickhead. So the kid came in there and
yeah. So the guy that owned the place where Mibu was renting ended up passing away, and his son was like cool with it, and then his son was like, my dad didn't pay all these taxes all these years, so he had to move out. So he moved over to a different place. Actually, it's a lot bigger shop. He's set up. He's pretty good.
So he's still rolling. He's still
he's still doing it. He still does things. I mean, the Evo, the Japanese guys, geeky kid.
Oh yeah,
with that like 500 horse.
Yeah.
He keeps blowing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's Mibu still does it. Mibu still goes out to ASP and drives just whatever. He doesn't care, you know. But yeah, was just standard. We got out there and then we retuned it again for a 1.6, and Mibu said, let's go on the tow road. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And I was already into like heavy into Wangan. And of course, we're up here. So Wangan to me was, I get on the tow road and top speed, everybody's like, oh, you just floor it and you reach top speed. And really it's not, it doesn't work that way. You can get faster if you know how to work them gears.
Yeah.
So at the time, 247 clicks was about where, that was it. That was all the Subaru had. So we had changed out the gearing to get a little further. And we got on it. And so we're on the tow road and we're doing 50. And Mibu's driving. And Mibu's like, okay, we're in 5th. And we're doing 50 clicks, which is like putting. He drops it down into 3rd. And he'd swapped it to high boost. And so the light comes on when the meth injection kicks in. And he had it set to like 10 PSI and the meth would automatically start flowing. And he gets on it. I remember him dropping it, and all of a sudden we lost traction. All 4 tires were just traction, and you can hear this turbo because it's back by the driver's window, and we got the window down, and you can hear this turbo screaming and sucking air like it's just trying to withdraw everything around you. And the car's doing this. What do you just say? Like the
weird,
Watusi, just dancing everywhere. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and we're laughing, and we're like, we're gonna die. We're like, I'm in danger.
And it's fun.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, this is very fast.
Yeah. Well, I can't. Well, speaking, I can't wait to have you test drive the 1G Cappuccino, which is pretty much going to be a death trap. So.
Oh, that's the way to go, man. It's like.
Yeah, it'll be cage. It'll be the cage will have a cage, so it'll definitely be safe, man. But yeah, man, that's great. So I know, like it went. I know Chris is still here, so it went. So after you got done with it. Or whatever, like, so what happened? Like, what happened to the demise of it, or
okay? So
like
the '94, right around the time that I decided to sell the car, and I didn't want to, I could have kept it and stuck it in my in-laws' garage, but I'd gotten hurt. That's that time, about the time I hurt my back. And driving the car wasn't a problem, but I was like, all right, I've got to leave. We got married, we had a kid on the way, and that had nothing to do with it. I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get rid of it. So I sold it to this cat, and I told him, I think $7,500, and the car. You could have bought, back then, you could have bought a 95, 96 Impreza, non-STI version 2 for about $5,000 to $6,000. If you wanted a version 3, it was still $10K up here.
Right.
And so I sold it to him, and he was rolling with this kid, Omar. And I'm just going to, you know what? No, I'm just going to blast this kid, dude.
Whatever.
You know what? It's Sig Block.
Yeah, you got to know.
Omar's an idiot. Somehow he had a 95 or 96 STI version 2 RA, this really rare car. It's like it was like the best of the lot because this is when Subaru moved from hydraulic lash adjustment heads to non-hydraulic. So it allowed for that 8K RPM range, and they flew better. Somehow he ran that car head on at 100 plus kilometers an hour into a Japanese curve. And if y'all don't watching the blog don't understand Japanese curve, man,
they're like this tall.
Yeah, some of them can get like ridiculous. Like 8 inches tall.
So pretty much for the guys who don't know, like a lower GC8 or whatever you got in the States RS 2.5, it's like pretty much hitting the top of your bumper on the curb.
So he was riding with this kid. Now, this kid had nailed that GC8 he had, and it pushed the front wheels to the creases of the front doors, and it had buckled the roof. And then this kid got another car, and Jeremy was following him, and they were out at Tawada.
Oh, Jeremy, I remember Jeremy.
Yeah, Putnam. So they were out at Tawada, I believe it was, around the lake, and the drive out there is really great at night.
Right.
And back then, there was guys that were running the Toge there was this cat in Yellow Evo. I ain't even going to start talking. That dude was bad. But they was running around there, and I guess Omar had some kind of physical attack or something that fucked him up, and he ended up hitting head on into a tree. And so Putnam had to make a decision, slam into the back of his friend or swerve. Well, he swerved and dropped off the edge of a cliff, probably about 20, 25 foot down. And so it just tilted the car up. And this was literally 6 months after I sold it. And I'd kind of called it with Ladd and a couple others. I said, he ain't going to make it 6 months. It's too much. But you know what? I just wanted my money and just wanted to sell the car, and then boom, it's done. Yeah,
but it's I mean, you sold it, you got the car, but it's like still, man. That I got a car actually around town, but the person in question is kind of like very my GTS. I'm pretty sure you know who owns that.
Yeah.
And so now I sold it to him, and I didn't really want to sell it. Now this is just sitting and parts are piling up on it and everything. So it's like, I mean, it ain't yours no more. You sold it, but it's like that you put the time in. So pretty much after the so after that, so what happened to the engine was still in there, or they junked the car?
Yeah. So the car ended up at this
and he knew it was a custom.
He already knew. The guy's not bad. He actually could drive pretty good, but it was just a poor decision. I'm gonna call that a poor decision. So he ended up selling the car to a guy. They ended up rebuilding the motor. By rebuilding, they decided that they wanted to redo the bushings and everything in it. And at that time, the car maybe had 5,000 clicks on it, the motor itself, the rebuild. So they decided to do that. And then right after they got done, they said the guy just like shot off. He didn't try to do another, careful with it. He just shot off with it. And then that guy ended up screwing up the turbo, blowing the turbo.
Right.
So then the car set, and then it ended up at a buddy of mine, Mike Landis. He rip on that one.
Yeah.
But Mike bought it. And then from Mike, ended up with Chris.
Thing went around, man.
Yeah, it moved around. And then it ended up in this one car, and the car ended up like in the impound lot. And a buddy of mine, John Duffy's like, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
John's like, hey, I got my car out of there. This car that I'd gotten, I got it. And he said, I got your motor. And I was like, you getting my Cheerios? He's like, no, I got your motor. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was like, I got it. And then I took this motor apart, and I was like, yeah, it needs to be redone.
So now you have it.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, man. Like, so you got like it's been around. I didn't know you got. I knew Chris had it at one point, and then it went around, man. So that's crazy how like that. And it started like what year did it initiate?
Like 2003.
Yeah. So like it's like you put it out there and everything. And it's like in Japan, man. I noticed a lot of times parts, man. I had a pair of wheels that I sold, and then they came back with another car I bought. It's like I sold those to 3 people ago, and it's like the parts. They just keep flowing around and everything. Like I still got, you remember Donnie Knight?
Yeah.
I still got his like they kind of, that was the first set of wheels I've ever bought, and I still got the one is on my hose stand.
Yeah.
And I got 2 on the other 2 on the S2000 right now. So like the wheels, like they just kind of they kind of keep floating around and everything, man. So that's crazy how that works and everything. So I mean, what's the plan for that one now with the advancement of for example, I got connections with I got piston connections and all types of stuff, but like is the HKS kit still offered, or is it
discontinued? It is, and it's still at that price, but the pistons in it are HKS pistons, and the crank is still fine, and the block is a closed deck. Subaru guys will know it's closed deck, so that's like a Gorel. I have a 98 Type R that the JCI expires the 29th of this month, and it's got some rot on it, and I want to do a full restore. And everybody talks about wanting to do a restore. And, I did, 5 S chassis restores after American stripped them all the way down. So this one's another full-up restore. For guys that are thinking, you can get a Type R. No, they're at $15,000 now. To get a good one, it's at $15K. And this ain't even at $25,000. Skylines didn't even come close to $15K for a decent one until after they were already at $25,000.
Right.
And the Type Rs, from the research, and from everybody talking, it seems like Subaru made around 14,000 here in Japan, Type Rs, between 97 and 2000. And so they're very limited, limited amount of cars. And there's tons that have been wrecked. As a matter of fact, on Yahoo right now, there's like 3 of them that are totaled.
Yeah.
And so the prices have already shot up. But it's something I was like, all right, well, I'd love to keep driving this car. And I've always said I don't want to just garage park a car. But there's at a point where I'm not worried about my driving.
Right.
I'm worried about everybody else around me, and it's not easy to get these parts. So I'm doing a full restore. I got to cut out some body panels, small portions, weld them some new metal, and just do a full restore. Like I said, I got like $2,500 in parts that have nothing to do with motor sitting in my bedroom. And when my wife is just looking at me like, she's like, it's starting to look like a garage.
Yeah,
my headers are hanging from the ceiling. Wraps.
A lot of people don't know, man. Like that's one thing I'm envious when I get definitely. You know about that because you did. I want to talk about that too. Like you guys say you're building a drag cars for your grandfather, uncle, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like back and then still to this day, it's easier to get a fucking Model T Ford fender than it is to get a part for something that came out in '92. Well, my DR30 came out in '83. You can't get it. So it's like Japanese don't really make shitty cars. They just stop supporting it to force people to go to that. So, I mean, as far as that, has there been issues getting like certain parts or?
Well, a wonderful company by the name of Subi Saver started making stamped steel. And there's another guy out of Europe that I just got in contact with, and he's a metal worker guy.
Okay.
And I'm really big on the guys that do metal work.
Yeah.
So I've got to send him pictures of stuff that I want made up that he can actually shape them out and then weld it in. But a lot of this stuff, like Nissan just restarted their historic car. Blah, blah, blah,
and all those dudes think that's like cheap, and it's like no, it's not going to be cheap. It's
they
money.
Still had the tooling and the old school American cars. A lot of these guys, you've got guys that have been shaping steel for years, so they can make these fenders for you. But a lot of companies now have the tooling to just stamp out fenders or whatever. And in Japan, that isn't so much the case. They just just don't do it. At some point around, I think it was around 98, 99, and in between that year and then up to 01, Japan changed some rules with junkyards and recycling, and then the steel went up. The price of steel went up. So junkyards was like, oh, we can't and we don't want to keep all these old cars. So they started melting all these old cars down. And, the junkyard guys, they just worried about that money. They don't care about the historical value. So it became harder and harder to start getting parts. And it's just like you said, Japan just doesn't offer that stamped steel option. And then a bunch of us are praying that Subaru will do the same thing Nissan
Speaking
did.
Of,
but
that kind of makes me think, like, you got the limited numbers, like, limited number Subarus. They got, the limited model GTRs and stuff like that. It's like, it's like now, like, with so many cars being wrecked and so many cars being, like, raced and then, like, no paperwork. It's like, I wonder, like, how many actually still exist if there's a way to find, which there is not. There's no way. Because I'm pretty sure there's cars at the bottom of the ocean where a dude just survived and, like, yeah, I'm gonna leave that down there. Like, so yeah. So
there's a couple up toward 338 if you know where to go. There's a couple of rare gems that are off the cliff. Yeah, and they're recoverable, but you would never actually own them. Yeah. By the time you figured out you went through the Arctic 7 thing, you know what kind of pain that is. Yeah. They probably didn't keep paying taxes on it, and they're not gonna try to come up with that mess. Yeah. But yeah, it's no. I mean, and they really were. I try to tell guys all the time, and for you 180, 240 SX guys, you're dealing with what's a finite resource. So these parts they're not always going to be there.
Right. Yes.
So you keep, I get called.
No, no. It's that. Hey, man. It's I definitely.
I get called the old guy. The old head. I don't know. And I broke it down. I call it. More or less, I call it your money syndrome.
Right.
And it isn't how much money you got. It's when you're going through and how much money you spend. When you first start working on cars, $100, and you're like, oh, man, that's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just busting out that YAJ, and it's $100. Eventually, $100 becomes a moot point. Mm-hmm. And then it moves up to $400 or $500 before you start having that thought.
Pretty much it's addiction, man.
Yeah, it's a drug. So $400 or $500 starts giving you pause. And then it gets to the point where $400 or $500 ain't shit. Yeah. You're like, oh no, we're good. Yeah. And so then you go up, and then it gets to like $1,000. Now you got guys that are just throwing down $1,000 on a part and ain't thinking nothing about it. Yeah. And a year and a half ago, it was $100.
Right.
But they're still dealing with these finite resources. So I was like, you can keep buying these cheap parts. I said, but in the end, you're gonna do like me and the rest of the old heads do. We start buying these high quality parts, because they last. Yeah. And they're like, no. And now all the young guys, they're starting to buy them. They're like, man, I'm tired of changing out these parts. Shit ain't lasting.
You're definitely going to do that. Like, one thing, like you see, that's out now, that the two things that change, social media has changed the way parts have been sold, for good and bad, because guys feel like because there's so much other people out there selling that everything should be cheap. Like, I got a pair of S14 headlights there, and guys want it for $60. I'm like, dude, go to Nissan and get that headlight for $60. Good fucking luck. You know what I mean? So people, like, now they just like, when you put your price out there, they figure that I'm like, no, it's firm. It's what it is. If I don't sell it, I'll just keep it. Yeah. Versus giving it to you for that much, man. And so you got that going on, and then also like the imitation, man, of quality, like imitation. Like I've had a few customers have imitation R35 MAVs. And I'm like, I told them, I'm like, where'd you get these from? Like, they're imitation. They paid me money to troubleshoot the issue. I knew what it was. Imitation R35 coil packs, metal. Bad fucking casted aluminum, parts don't fit and things like that. So, like, it's just, you mentioned HKS told me and all those companies. But there's guys out there that ain't making it looks good and everything. You put it on, it don't fit. Nothing lines up. And then if you can't weld, I'm pretty sure James made a lot of money. Off of fixing fuck ups, man. Or
Magic
people buying
left
hand drive parts for right hand drive, and like the Arc 7 is, I had TC did that. He bought a pipe, and it was for the American version, which the American version drive shaft is on this side, and then the JDM version has a little cutout for the shaft to pass through. It's little stuff like that where people don't, which I don't like. It's another guy, I don't want to bring up his name because I wrote him off, but he took all those shitty parts to Mibu. And back then I didn't understand, but now I had a guy come here and drop a box of parts. I'm like, dude, half that shit is incompatible. The other half I'm not installing straight up. And he's like, but I bought it. I'm like, well, you didn't get with me for that, man, because
I've always believed it, and I've even heard it from several guys, even back in the day. One of a tuning shop's worst nightmare is a customer that brings a car in with a trunk full of random parts. Yeah. And so, yeah, it may work, but I've said it before. Yeah,
because you always get in the fucking job and like, all right, cool, I'll take it. And then you're like, oh, man, this shit don't fit. And I've had it happen here, man, couple times to the point now where I double check, man, and I'll tell them like, yeah, we can't do that, man. We got to go back. So, but yeah, man.
Yeah, so it's, you can't, they don't like it because, yeah, this part may fit, but it doesn't necessarily work good with this. It's like a computer and a motherboard. Right. Yeah, the motherboard can support an ATI card, but it's built with an NVIDIA card in mind, and that's the same with like certain parts for a car. Yeah, this will work with this, but this part was specifically built with this other part in mind. So if you want the best and the optimal out of it, and people think it's cheap over here. I hate that. We both hate that misconception.
Man, it's not cheap, man.
Well, it's cheap compared to what they're used to paying, but by the time you get it and pay the shipping and everything else,
it adds up to the same.
It adds up to the same. Now, yeah, I'm not going to pay $3,200 for a set of wheels that you would pay elsewhere.
Right.
But then again, I'm more apt to pick up a set that's all scratched up and beat up and then fully restored because that's within my skill set. Where a lot of guys, it's not.
Right. Right. And that's a big thing, man. I tell a lot of guys, even with this cappuccino out there, bring that up, and then the guys like, oh, it can't be done. It got rust. I'm like, number one is topical rust. If it was like structural rust, I would have put that shit in the trash. I wouldn't even waste my time. I checked it out. Put it up on lift, like bam, bam, bam. This is there, good. Structure. Take it down to the. I'm gonna talk to those guys, see if they can do a little bit lighter media, because I just want to blast off because they folded the S2000 thing over, like fucking Free Willy's tail was like it was.
I've heard that they have the option out there for.
Yeah,
that,
I never asked them. I just take it there and drop it off. So I'm gonna have my wife get with them and see if they can do a softer media. I just want all that topical shit blasted off there so I can get started. That'll be Like I haven't posted up about that, but that I got the W58 being sent over. I got it from the States cheaper, shipped, then I can get one here because they're W58s are going for fucking $2,000 now.
And that's ridiculous.
A W58, not a fucking R154, a W58. Yeah, GA70, MA70, all those type shits. So anyway, I'm gonna use a W58 on that because they're like, oh, I'm like, the guys are saying that of course they don't really do 380. I'm like, dude, that car is 200 pounds. I don't need the stock fucking horsepower. The power ratio is like almost 800 horsepower, so don't need a glove. And that's where a lot of tuners, man. I know like and I didn't know even that about Subaru. Like when I drove Wyatt's car, and I swore that thing had 500 horsepower. And the way that the EJ works, he's like, no, it's about 380. I'm like, nah, it's no way, man. It's just 380. And the guys just don't. And that that schooled me right there. Like at that point I was like, power is not it's not the end all be all, man. It's cool if you can control it and handle it. But a lot of guys like then get out there and they just think power, and then they got like busted fucking wheel bearings, busted bushings. And I know you see it, man. I know you're still on base. You're at the hobby shop and everything, man, and you see all that stuff, And we just pretty much, I think both of us just sit back and like, it's gonna come to me eventually. Like I mean, shit, the GC8, and then fucking 2 months later, like, hey man, you wanna buy this? And I bought and that shit, man. That engine was up for like 3 months before I bought it because I didn't have the cash. I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna buy it, and I'm like, no fucking way, man. You still got that engine? Like, and it's all these fucking Ken Block gurus and shit. They couldn't spare $500 you sold it for. Plus, I got the transmission from you, so I got everything back almost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
All right, so how I came up in the car game is a lot different from what everybody else came up in. I said before I went to UTI just for my own shits and giggles. I didn't just, I wasn't going for a job. I refused to turn that portion of my car, knowledge into the job. But, we had to do a decimal system and we had to read books. So the knowledge wasn't easy to come by. You had to search. There was no
Google back then.
No. Right now, y'all got McGoogle. It's 24/7, 365 drive.
Shit back when you started, there wasn't even fucking Netscape, and it wasn't Netscape in the library with the fucking when Netscape shit was like the captain's wheel. Yeah, it's like, and then fucking. The fucking shit was like 480, but
the 14.4 and the old searches took forever.
The dot matrix printers. Only thing I use that shit for is cheat codes because I'm like that was like the only thing. It was just like fucking plain text. Anything with pictures and shit on, like music was just coming around, man. So like,
you got so many companies that offer at a really I'm not even gonna say a premium price, at a good price that will teach you online classes to do things. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, you can go to Google and learn how to do anything. You remember I started building that SR. The first time I built an SR, I'd never torn an SR apart. Never even looked at an SR. I just downloaded the FSM.
Same.
And then just ripped it apart and put it back together. And then I was like, there's no fucking gaskets in this. Yeah. It's all RTV.
All GV, man.
And I was like, I fucking hate this thing.
We talked about that, man. That as much. I don't see. I think I shaded it. I just don't. S13SR has its flaws. Everybody knows about the rocker arms and all that stuff. And then actually, I remember you can't because it was right after you built yours, and then you came over that day, and I was like, dude, something's wrong, and I'm trying to tune this shit out, and he's like, yeah, DJ, the fucking rocker was sitting off like this. The rocker was fucking off, and then the shim was gone. So I found both of those and luckily put it back on, and it was like good to go. And I would never thought to check the rocker was. I'm like, dude, what the fuck's going on? I'm checking injectors. I'm doing all this shit, man. And you came over like, yeah, it's off. Felt like a dumbass and shit. And actually the SR is, again, it was as much shit as I kind of talk on them. That was the first engine I ever built because the Ks, I was just blowing them. I didn't meet them. RBs was solid and still solid. And I rebuilt the SR. It was just I just wanted to do it, man. It didn't really need it. I just wanted to, you know what I mean? First time I did rings, first time I did everything. And then I don't know how it was. So I knew when you first built your first engine and you drive it like, man, all right, so when is it going to blow up? And
the pucker factor, as I call it. Like, no matter how good you get at rebuilding motors, man, there might be some out there.
I mean, now I'm confident, but at that time it was like after it happened, I was, and then it didn't blow up in like 2 weeks. I'm like, all right, well, fuck it, let's go drifting. And then I was like, cool. And then I sold it.
Yeah.
So
there might be some that have that confidence. Yeah. And I've built plenty of motors over the years, and I've been dealing with cars for a long time. But no matter how many times I built it and how many times in the back of my mind I'm going, did you do this? Did you twerk that? Did you do this? And that first crank, man, I call it the pucker factor. Am I just going to, am I going to blow my O-ring, or is it going to be like it's going to crank and be fine? And, luckily I haven't had any issues from like when I was a kid and I first started messing with them. But it's always that first crank. I'm always nervous. Like,
so speaking of that, like that's what I kind of want to talk about. So like I remember you said you were doing, so you got experience with like carbs and everything, right? And,
I grew
so
up
you did
on
carbs. And all that stuff, and then I remember you just tell me about that. Not those guys, but you were saying like one time you were like you guys doing a race team. You were like tearing down the engine and drag. It was a drag car you were talking about before, and you were like part of the mechanics team. You guys were like it was a drag car you told me about in the truck, man. And you said you guys were like after the race, you guys were tearing the engine down and checking shit.
Well, back then, my uncle liked to drag race Silverado pickups.
Yeah. Okay.
My grandfather, we didn't have no drag team. We just did a bunch of stuff on Broadway.
Okay.
And it is not exactly the greatest, but my grandfather gave two fucks about the cops. So there was two car lots, and Little Bill was up the hill, and then Car Corral, which my grandfather was down below.
Okay.
And so there was like this little competition between them two old heads. And these are old dudes, like man's man, old man. So they had these competitions. And we had started building these motors, and my grandfather was like, all right, we got this Hemi here, we got this old GTO, let's build it. And I was like, oh, okay, I ain't never done this. And he was like, yeah, well, let's build it. And at the time I was like 12 years old. So we got this guy, John Payne, came over, and he's like, all right, Mike, I'm gonna show you how to do this. So, and this guy was an amateur drag racer. And he was like, all right, let's start building this. So we go through, and talking about, I learned how, shaving the blocks, shaving the heads, getting everything nice and flat. And so here we got this big ass Hemi, we've got full up and set up. And then here comes the carb. Okay, here's the fun part, the carb. All right, so now you got to tune it with some fucking screwdrivers. And I'm like, all right, cool. So he's like, yeah. And he's revving it, and he's like, no, that's not right. And he's tuning it. I'm like, he ain't explaining shit.
Yeah.
And so
like I'm going to teach you.
We like get it going and get it going and get it going. And Bill and them built this. All right, some of y'all might know, some of y'all don't know. But there was a Pinto and a Bobcat. They built this little Bobcat and put a 350 SBC down in it and built it up and put a blower on it. So this thing was doing wheel stands. And John was pro drag, semi-pro or amateur drag race guy, and he was building like drag cars, and he's helping me build this motor. My grandfather's just throwing money, cams, head work, everything. We're doing all this stuff, and so we get it set up and cranked, and the whole car's cam is so heavy, the car ain't running. It's just it's like a fat chick running after a donut,
Yeah,
it's like where the crank, come here, crank, and then get this donut, And so they get it out, and they're gonna line it on this public road at like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Wow.
And here's this, this is Bobcat, and he's like, and this GTO, and it's just rocking. It's literally rocking the whole car. Yeah, and it. Two wheel stands, and they just launched down the road drag race. And a couple of cars are probably running 10s, and they're just drag race. And he comes back and he's like, all right, Mike, now that we've done this, he's like, we'll take it to the strip. And they ran it a few times, and I think they got it down into the 9s. And I couldn't drive it, I was too young.
Right.
And then my grandfather was like, all right, you get to keep the car. And I was like, what? no. And then John was like, all right, let's tear it down. We've done like 10 runs total. Let's tear it down, check everything, put it back together because this ain't some normal motor. So we do it and everything. And then this old dude comes up and offers my grandfather a good chunk of money for the car. My grandfather looks at me and he's like,
yeah, got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
And now,
so
like, you definitely now understand that, I mean, at that time, we didn't, you didn't know what all it took to, what adulting was.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, man.
It's like, he just, like, the guy made a ridiculous offer. And
Yeah.
so he sold it. And I was heartbroken, man. I loved that car. My dad had Novas all growing up. And everybody's dad that was into cars, dad had a Nova or Chevelle, and that shit was primer, and it probably was mix match primer, and dad always had this intention of fixing it, and they never did. They would sell it and get a different one.
Yeah, man.
But we always grew up like that, and so it was a lot of really bad things that I shouldn't have been doing as a kid. I mean, you're talking about a man that made me drive a car that had a broken steering column, wouldn't go and drive.
Yeah, I remember
it would only go in reverse, and I was 14. I had to drive this car on the back road through the hood in reverse with no plates.
That's what you're talking about for the dealership deal?
Yeah, from one dealership to the other, and the steering column's all broken. I got it reversed, and I'm 14, and I'm short, man. I didn't have no growth spurt till I was like almost 16, so I'm having to like hold myself up over the bench seat and do like this and driving it back, and I'm praying to God I don't get caught, you know?
Takumi Fujiwara in America, like with just no toge, no tofu. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's like stuff like that, man. That's why, like I say, man. I don't know how we met, man. We just met because I got here until
we met right before you went on deployment, and like we had hit it off then.
Yeah,
and then you had just gotten back, right? And then I was like, "Yo, what's up?" And then the quake hit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then so I was working at the terminal, bringing all this stuff in, and then I was hopping on one of the trucks to go down to help do search and rescue. Yeah. So I was sleeping to and from, and then going back to work. And so we had hit it off then, and then you ended up, after a while you decided out, and then you went to Cubic, and then I had that blow up at Cubic. I was like, fuck y'all. Well, it wasn't Cubic at the time. It was this other shitty-ass company, no names to be spoken. Yeah. But got out of that, and then you ended up moving on and doing your thing, and so. Yeah.
But it kind of worked, man. It's like weird, man, because, again, you left there, and then I left shortly after that, and then Carlos is down there, Yoshi's. So it's like, I mean, whatever, man, with all that stuff.
Everybody moved on to a much better
Everybody moved on, man. And then, like kind of segue into that. So now, like, I mean, you're, so your main thing is it detailing or is it?
Yeah, detailing.
Yeah, detailing. So pull this up. We got your page right here, Slip Shine. Like, the biggest thing I noticed a lot of guys doing now, and actually what I'm schedule, because, again, we're buddies, but, like, you guys out there don't realize business is business. And you don't, just because you're a buddy, you don't fucking cut in line. So I'll schedule with Mick here to get my wife's Evo in there because she got a paint job, and the paint's like, it's been about 2 months now. Yeah. So it should be settled.
Yeah, it should be good and settled.
Yeah. So I've put a few and I know I know you can get it out. I put the damn snow brusher. She hit it. She the black. They got a few black digital transfers.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
And then also getting in the car with these boots when I hit the damn thing. So. Yeah, I'm gonna get that, but there's no scratches on it, so I'm gonna get the ceramic coat. And that's like, I mean, before we touch on that, actually, we bring up the page right here. So this is a page, Slip Shine. So all you guys in Masawa, come to Masawa. Don't go to those gas stations to get that little bullshit spray on wax shit, man. It's not gonna last for the money. I mean, maybe get a few dollars. But you see right here in this picture right here, just the detail. And I didn't know it was a thing until I had one of the guys came down. Who was in Solon. Because I worked in this car a bunch and everything, and had did the engine swap. And when he came here I'm like, did you get a new fucking paint job? He's like, no, it's the same paint. It's like it's like, as you can see right here, like it magnified for the guys out there who are not good with ceramic coat. It's like almost like a magnify. It magnifies and makes the car pop more. And this is like 25-year-old paint, man. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I get a lot of it. So don't get a lot of like nice cars with good paint jobs. I get a lot of older vehicles that need a lot of work.
Right.
So they bring it in and I do what I can. But, I still inspect the paint. I check the thickness. I could tell you if there's body work been done.
Right.
So it's just like, it just takes time. And there are some people that really, really care about their cars. Right. And there's others that don't. So, yeah, it just depends on what you want done. I mean, we can do just about everything,
Yeah. So, like, I'll drop the link down there for, again, guys coming to Masawa want to get the nice car detail, Slip Shine and everything. And, I mean, I know you said before, I mean, I probably won't, some of those guys don't want to mention their names, but I know you mentioned, like, there was some high-end clientele that they only wanted you to detail their car before because people, like, recognize real stuff. And I know there's a few, like, shops around here. So that's what I was telling you, man. Like, I know you're still in base, man, but I definitely see you like opening up a shop like off base and doing your thing, man. Because I just, there's certain people, man, I don't see working for the man, or the man is whoever out there, or the system and stuff like that. Because it's like you got your own drive, you got your own push, and even with like your medical issues and stuff like that. And I got my VA stuff, and my back hurts every morning I wake up, dude. It hurts. And
keep pushing, man.
Just keep pushing, because you could be like, oh, I'm staying in bed and snuggle, and guess what? You ain't making no fucking money either, man. So like, that's why I definitely admire like the pushing. Like that's why people like, they don't realize, man, how you push so hard. I'm like, dude, 'cause I know other motherfuckers out there working too and making it happen, man. And anybody like that, man, that's why like I stay connected to them, because I know they're good. And like also with that, it's like it's a revolving door kind of with the, connections I got, your connections and stuff like that. People who earn them, motherfuckers out there who just like don't know you and just come up to you and they'll give you a wet limp handshake and shit. Yeah. And they think they're in the club. I'm like, nah, dude, it don't really work like that. The circles we built, the relationship with you and me, boo, that's shit over years, man. That puts you in a different category with people and everything. So a lot of guys don't see that, man. But for the guys like looking to get cars, start by this. What's like the top 5 or top 3 fucking don't do's of washing your car, man? Because I was vehicle ops, so I knew certain things what to do, and even I'm not a pro. And like what like directions on like wiping shit off and materials and stuff like that. So without giving away your trade secrets and stuff like that.
No, there's really no trade secrets, because you can Google all the info to learn how to do it. Personally, for me, one, dish soap. Keep it in the kitchen where it belongs. Don't wash your car with dish soap. Buy good quality
that strips
dish soap. Oh, well, not only that, dish soap has abrasives in it. People don't really realize that. Like Dawn was developed as a degreaser.
Yeah,
before it was a dish soap.
Great on hands.
That's why everybody's like, why don't you get some Gojos or something? And I'm like, no, just wash it with Dawn soap. It comes out perfect. But, it has abrasives in it, so it messes your paint up. And 2 is to spray the car off really, really good. Before you start washing it.
Warm, because that is warm. That's my bad to cut you up. But warm or cold, makes a difference?
For water wise, for washing it off, I really don't think so. Yeah. Every detailer is different. Everybody has their own opinion. Yeah. I won't do it directly in sunlight. No way, because it just you're risking that chance. And Masawa does have certain housings that have hot water or hard water, as we say. And if that spot dries, it leaves a nasty watermark on there. Yeah. So get some good soap. Learn about the 2-bucket method. I take it a bit excessive with that. So I know a car normally has, most cars anywhere between 12 to 14 panels, and I'll literally get 15 to 16 rags and stick them in a bucket of soap, and then I'll have the other bucket that I just throw them in that's full of fresh water. So I'll just use a rag per panel. But, also do a foam bath. And most people aren't going to have a foamer. Right. And then another one, if you plan on waxing your car, clay bar it.
Prior to
clay bar, wash it and then clay bar your car. All them little rust spots.
Yeah, you
rubber don't rust. Yeah, so when you got the rubber side skirts, them FRP don't rust. That's just brake crap that's embedded in it. So just clay bar it out. But that's a big one, man. Clay bar before you wax. Go ahead and clean it out. You'd be surprised, man. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to get a good shine on a car. Yeah, detailers, we do things that other people can't, and that's because we've been doing it for years.
That's the thing about it, man. That's what, we talked about before. People argue about the price. I'm like, dude, this ain't just like we're not blowing shit off. You're not, you're detailing. The word detail, if you Google that shit, read the fucking descriptions and read the sentences using detail. Like you can see, it's not like just a once over, a quick pat on the back and out the door and shit. So the guy's taking his time. So for a normal car, like what's your average like time from start to finish?
An average time from start to finish.
Just for a basic wash and
a basic wash and wax is like 2 hours. It takes me 2 hours or so just to do one. And I don't try to upsell, but I will tell people what is and isn't, can be done with their paint. All right. You got clear coming off. Just wax it and let it go. There's no point in me trying to put a compound on it. Compounds and polishes are more or less sandpaper designed to do just what it says. Right. Polish the paint out. So when you're using that, it literally kind of cuts the clear, and then you got to work that cutout to make it that pristine, no marks. You got different LED lights, looking to see, make sure that you got that perfect clarity. And all right, so I have a contract on the base here in Masawa, and your average detail for just an exterior is going to be 12 hours or more. Right. And I'll charge people between $150 to $250 for a detail. You can't even come close to touching that price in the States for a professional detailer, especially somebody that's mobile, that knows what they're doing. No. Yeah. And those guys, like, I follow a bunch of them. They're my heroes. You got guys out there that'll travel, and, you know, they're $1,000 details. You know, it takes them all day or two.
Yeah, it's a special thing, I think, because the thing about it, like, no matter, what really, really, really sucks, no matter how much you detail is, like, the car is going to be, if it's used and it's not garage kept, it's going to get dirty again. Like, I mean, last Saturday when it was like, birds are chirping and like, fuck, man, it's springtime and everybody's at the car wash. I washed the Evo, man, and I'm like, man, it's cleaning. And the next day, it's like, fuck, man.
It got snow and
yeah, dude, it's like, man. And then, you know, the wheels are kind of like out, so of course it slings the fucking the shit over the side of the car and everything, man. So it's like, you know, and that's where it works out, because a lot of people, they don't have the skill set to do that, and they want the car that, you know, that's one thing I see, man, in the you know, being a military vehicle officer to do the DV cars. And one thing they would have us do, and they taught us in tech school, was like cleaning the damn door jams. Because you'll see a car that's all nice and clean, and open the door jams, it's like fucking, like it just looks like the 1920s, and like it's like mud and dirt and French fries and shit, and you can't even read the Subaru because it's like all shit caked in it and everything. And I mean, that's where a lot of people, like, that's where that shit's coming from. And then my thing is, for people arguing price, it takes 2 hours, but still, that's 2 hours that if another person did it, it would take them 5 or 6 hours, because you got it down to a science. Yeah, and you know what you're doing.
That's just the 2 hours. Just literally, all I do is wash and wax your car. Right. And, you know, clean the windows, clean out the door jams. You know, a lot of them are like, well, you can go here or there. And then they'll be like, yeah, the gas station off base. And I'll just open their gas door.
Yeah, I see that.
And then I'll point at it. There's your gas. That's the inside of your gas door. You know, I've got brushes specifically designed. I'm cleaning the wheels. You know, I got a lift. I put the car up on the lift. I'll be cleaning your undercarriage. Yeah. Not just you drive over something that sprays. No, I'm spraying degreaser up there with special brushes.
Yeah, I've seen it a bunch, man. I kind of want to engage in them. Like, you know what, man? Like, they'll figure it out. And the thing about those is, like, the people who come into you are really, they're really invested into it. They either invested into it because they're going to take it, or they invested into it because they want to make a good resale. Yeah. And they'll keep that clean. And I mean, actually, the Sorrel back, I'm going to get, I'm selling that for him. But before, you know, a car that's fucking shining is going to sell, same car is going to sell faster than one that's all dull and the fucking wheels.
It looks better, and
it just looks healthy.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, and I'm not going to say any names, but just an officer came in the auto hobby shop and dropped off a white Forester. Yeah. And what you think your car is white, if you're not a regular detailing or you don't have it regularly cleaned in a good way, what you think you've got is white is not technically the white that you should see. So he parked it on the north side of the hobby shop, and I took it in and I did a full detail. He came and picked it up the next day. Now, when I parked it on the south side of the hobby shop.
The side,
like going toward the BX.
Yeah.
So he comes in through that door. He walked right by it. He seen it, and he pays, and he gets his key, and he's like, "Where's my car?" Because he was looking. I was like, "It's out there," and he's like, "That's not mine. Mine." He said, "I thought you'd parked it over here." I was like, "No, that's yours." He's like, "That's not the right color," and I was like, "That's yours."
Yeah.
And so he leaves, you know, and they came back and they did a rental van. They went down to Tokyo, did some family things, and he came back in. And this is one of the things: a customer's smile, a customer's appreciation, a customer's praise will validate you more than anybody's internet bullshit does. And he was like, "You know what? I always thought that detailers," he said, "I thought y'all were just a bunch of, you know, hoopla. You know, it's just a bunch of bullshit." He was like, as soon as I get back to the States, my vehicles are going to a professional detailer. I said, "Well, where are you going?" And he's like, "I'm going here." I said, "Well, you know, this guy and this guy and this guy I follow on Instagram. They're in that area, and they're professionals. You're not going to get the same prices you did here." I said, "Because I'm doing y'all a favor as a military community, as a vet.
Right.
I just want to, you know, I like doing it. It pays the bills. You know, it's whatever. But these guys will really help you out." He's like, "Yeah, I'm sold." He's like, "I didn't realize that there was that much of a difference." He was like, "That's crazy." And I was like, "A lot of people do, and a lot of people want to argue it, but it is what it is."
That's what it is. And all the kind of segueing on that, man, is like one of we talked in the truck a lot, man. I mean, shit, man, the shit we talked about, man, it would be like hours and hours, because I mean, shit, we worked together, and it was just us out there. The biggest thing I picked up, I mean, it was always a thing, but it kind of solidified when you mentioned, I don't know if it was your uncle, you mentioned he was like, don't let people like quantify your time or quantify your worth.
Well, I can tell you that. You know, I can tell them a story. So when I was a kid, you know, like I said, I had to work on my grandfather's car lot. Y'all be going to these water parks and stuff. Summer break for me was work, you know, child labor.
Yeah.
I'm 42, so things have changed a lot between now and then.
Right.
For some kids, some of y'all, y'all still getting that business.
Right.
But right around that 13, 14, my Uncle Brian, it was like, hey, you want to come work for me? He was a private contractor. We did vinyl siding. He did house restorations on exteriors. You know, he did all this stuff, rebuilding porches.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you know, I didn't think nothing of it. You know, I couldn't really have a job, so I shouldn't be out there. And we worked for this guy named Mr. Whitehead. And I went out there and we worked for like a week and a half. And I didn't realize that Mr. Whitehead was driving out there just to watch me work because, one, I was a minor and I shouldn't be doing it. And even though Brian was running his own business and paying me under the table, like we was breaking all kinds of laws.
Right. I've done a few of those.
So I went in and I had to write my own invoice. And so I wrote my own invoice. And I told you, I wrote it for $500.
Right.
And I handed it to Mr. Whitehead. And Mr. Whitehead laughed at me. He laughed at me. And he was like, that's it? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, son, he said, sit down. So he made me sit down. And he brought Brian's invoice over, you know. And he started showing me, you know, what Brian had wrote and what Brian's prices were and then what my prices were. He said, I've got grown men that do not do the level of work that you're doing out here. He was like, you're humping it.
Right.
He was like, this is what you're getting paid this time. He said, but next time you better bring me an invoice for somebody that works. He said, this is not what you're doing. He said, you need to know what your time's worth to you. It doesn't matter what it's worth to somebody else.
And they picking, you tell them what it is. And
so, I wrote that first invoice and it was $500 and he paid me $500 and you're 14, man. That was money back in the 90s, boy. I was like, oh my God, I got $500. Yeah. And so we did the next job like a week later when it took us 3 weeks and I wrote a $1,500 invoice. And he looked right at me and he paid me the $1,500 and he said, that's an invoice for a worker that does housing restorations. And we would like wrap around ranch houses, restoring the porches and stuff. And
was this the payout was bi-weekly, weekly, or
no, per job.
Per
job. So
so just the completion.
Yeah. Once the completion was done. So there were months, man, and when I was 14 years old where I would make around 2 G's. And then there were other months where I'd make 4 or 5. And so I'd learned to do that. So when it came down to it, I can yank a Subaru motor in a few hours and I can change a clutch, you know, in a short amount of time. But you're going to pay me this amount.
Right. Yeah. That's
for the old thing going like the old man with the ship.
Yeah.
Hitting the motor with that little hammer, $2, knowing exactly where to hit it. You know, $9,998. You know,
that's the biggest thing, man. Like, you know, that's why one thing, you know, even here when people come to the shop, I don't do like I hate to do off the top. I like to sit down and go through the whole because every car is different. Especially if I don't know the car, because I prefer to have a car with these cars and the amount of the time they've been around. I prefer to inspect the car to see what I'm looking at, because I told you a story once because you know, I got a car and I quoted him the guy for this much to change an exhaust. When I got to the exhaust, the fucking shit was welded together at the bottom, I guess for JCI. So I'm brushing it off like that's a MIG welder. So they welded it. I guess it was leaking. So they you know how the exhaust, it gets that little. So they welded it, and like I'm like, dude, now I gotta cut this out and do this, and you know, he was cool about it. But that's why, you know, I learned that, and when I sit down to make these invoices, I'm like, dude, this is how much it takes me to do it at a regular time plus. And I got out of explaining myself to people because I was like, well, I got lights. And when I first opened, you know, trying to tell people why, he was like, why is it costing much? I'm like, because you're using my lift power, you're using my fucking my 3-phase power. And then now I'm like, you know, I'm like, this is the price and you pay it. And they're like, okay, cool. Because when you start to offer that fucking excuse, then they feel like they own you or they got you and stuff like that. So that story I remember you told me, man, and that one day I was sitting here while mid-customer, I'm like, the price is what it is. Because I was explaining to myself and I'm starting to fucking stumble and I'm like, I don't fucking talk to nobody like this. You know, I'm like, the price is what it is. And I didn't say fuck. I was like, you pay it or you go somewhere else. And then he's like, all right, cool. I'll just, you know, I'm like, no, he was trying to fucking see, you know, I got this damn page. I got this on the small screen here.
Yeah. So I try to stay friendly with all the groups around. You know, I don't try to pick sides and I don't try to bounce around. You know, I've known most of the guys here. I've known them for well over a decade. Yeah. And I don't argue with anybody's prices. You tell me what you charge, and then I'm just going to drop it off whenever I got the time, and then I'm going to pay you, and that's going to be the end of it.
And even with the Alex shit between us, man, like it's, you know, depending on the greater relationship and things like that, like you never should ask, like some people will write out just because they think they're buddies, they'll write out acts for, hey man, you know you will help me up on that. I'm like, yeah, if I can, and it's within, like if I'm getting a deal on it or whatever, it's like the business part. some of the guys, they don't mix friendship and business well. Like some guys are good friends, but the business stuff and everything and like the respect. Like again, that's why I say I'm gonna hit you up on your page, and you know, because I know you got the customers and people like that, and you just don't jump ahead. I mean, there's but again, kind of not a little contradicting. There are certain people again that are done so much for you that kind of will, if the person's not hard locked in, they can kind of jump ahead just for a second if you know it's going to take an hour or so.
Well, I mean, there's certain people that I do things for.
I mean, that's life, man. It happens.
Yeah, and I'll do things for them just out of to be doing it, or like I might be bored, or I don't have nothing going on that day, and they just happen to end up where I'm at, and I've got my stuff with me. I'm like, hey, what you doing? They're like, oh, nothing. Give me your car. They don't ask questions. I tell them to give me their car. They bring their car in. You know, I got guys. You know, they got $12,000, Skyline. They just drop it off and leave it going. And the guy's like, I detail his Ferraris. I don't detail Ferraris. Now, I've detailed some other cars from other clientele that I won't talk about because they asked to be. That's that. But, I'm getting $15,000, $20,000 cars. These guys are trusting me to drive his car around, get it all cleaned up, and come back. And they come back and they're just like, oh, man, I'm telling my friends. That's all the validation I need.
Man.
I don't.
And then I know you had though. You've everybody. If you're in business, you're doing anything collecting money. It's always gonna be that fucking one dickhead that just you can't satisfy, man.
Yeah, you'll get on.
And those people tend to like the gratifying ones. Definitely is cool, the validation. But those ones, I mean, for me, man, I've had since I've been here, and I've had overwhelming evidence to prove otherwise. And you get those people who just. Whatever it is, man, they just want to like fucking ruin your name for whatever reason, man. Maybe they're jealous of where you're at with your skill sets or whatever. I've had people get like mad at me because I told them they couldn't work here. I'm not fucking hiring anybody. I got an assistant, he's cool, and I don't need anybody, man. So it's like it's you can't satisfy everybody.
No, and you're never going to be able to, and that's another one. And that's for all y'all out there. Get online. Find out the facts, man. Find out what you need to know to do what you need to do. There's sites like, what was it, Metal Meat? When I first started wanting to do metal shaping, I got online and I found it. And it's a bunch of old dudes that know what the hell they're talking about. Right. So then I went there and I was like, oh, and one of the greatest planishing hammers that I've never thought about you could use was a leaf spring that was polished out, that was welded onto a piece of rebar. And so, you just got to get out there and don't let people discourage you, and that's probably the biggest thing is that the social media can make somebody that really, really has potential just let it go. Right. It will not do anything. Yeah. Everybody comes here, you come to Japan and you want to do all these things and then you realize, it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's like
you have the potential to make money. Yeah. Use your skill set. What are you really good at? Yeah. And if you're really good at something and it's not really your hobby per se, or even if it is and you like doing it, turn it into a money making thing. While guys are sleeping, you sleeping at 7 o'clock in the morning. No, I'm hustling. I'm trying to make money. And everybody's like, well, do you give your wife money or you do this? And man, my wife and my kids got whatever the hell they want. Right. Like, well, you're never working on your car. I'm always working. Right. But you know what? I got parts out the yin yang that I can do. I just got to take time. But I already knew, set with my Subaru.
A lot of guys just don't realize, like, unless you're already rolling in a serious cash, like you see most of my cars are all of them pretty much are mine. They're not running. The NSX has been sitting there for 2 years now. You don't get paid to work on your own car unless you got a magazine company saying, hey man, once you finish this, we're going to get you featured. And they guaranteed it. Then the Subaru was case in point. That car show, I did that. Mike was like, kind of, hey, I want to see the car show there. And I got at the car show, won first place for that most modified. I mean, nobody had the truck and all that shit. And then the Dirty 10. So that was like 6 straight days of like no sleep. Like, at the car show, I was up for 3 days, and then I remember I was finishing at the damn hobby shop where everybody else who came there was just already done and everything, man. So it was kind of crazy to see that, man. So it's like I said before in many episodes, people feel like they deserve shit, man. If you ain't got it, it's just because you ain't working hard enough, man. And again, I know online, man, you go at guys and then they. Most times you're just trolling people.
Oh, dude, I love doing it, man. So Facebook's my social media, what do you call it? Like social media video game. Like it's like a disc I load into my PlayStation and be like, all right, who can I piss off today? Yeah. And like, you won when they get to the point where they start screaming and cussing. You ain't got to cuss at nobody. You just beat them with facts. And don't be like, I'll give them the fact with a source that'll support exactly what they don't believe. And be like, here you go. Yeah. And then be like, oh, the cars don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You don't know what you're doing. And then the next thing you know, and this is my personal favorite, like I'll tell them, And the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make that motherfucker drink. So you could tell somebody, this is what you need to do. These are the steps you need to follow, and this is where you need to go. All right, my personal belief is build from the bottom up. To have more power, you need to be able to stop faster. Right. To be able to go faster, you also need to be able to handle better. So take care of those mods first, and then tune them as you add more power. No, they don't want to listen.
Neglected, man.
And then, or they'll be like, they turn the boost up. You know, we still got guys today that'll get a manual boost controller, can crank the boost up. Yeah, Sylvia, I'm talking to some of you numbnuts. Yeah. And be talking about, oh, the SR can take this. The SR's, no. You be cranking it up, and SR has HLA. All right, that's the hydraulic lash adjustment. All right, so that's first off, you ain't going to rev it high. And two, them turbos are old. You know, you're rolling in that S13 chassis or an RPS 13 or PS 13 and, you know, S14. Them turbos are old, man. They're like 10 years old. You're like, oh, we're going to run it at 20 PSI. 14. Okay, well, where's the fuel adjustment on this? You know how many blown SRs I've seen because of this?
Because guys will always say, like, well, they got, like, the street science that's not proven, like, well, the ECU will account for this much and blah, blah, blah. Maybe somebody put it on a dyno and say, like, you know, it can monitor the AFRs. But, you know that from the factory, most cars are tuned, they're overfueled because it's safer to be rich than it is to be lean.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, just putting the ECU in and, like, backing it off will gain power a little bit, but you sacrifice some things as well. But it's a lot of, you know, unproven science or bro science out there.
Like I said, man, you can say all you want, but numbers are never going. Math ain't gonna lie to you.
Right.
Math won't, and the facts are not gonna lie. All right. Well, you've moved your boost here, but you haven't moved this here. All right. So you slid and drifted the crap out of it. Oh, I drifted it for a year, and then the motor let go.
Yeah.
Well, the motor let go prematurely, and you might not think it's prematurely, but I do.
Yeah.
It let go because it was gas starvation.
Right.
You know, you didn't think about the minor things. All right, everybody tells you, all right, the oil pan in the S20 is an issue. Okay, so it doesn't cost much to get like the upgraded. Yeah, you know, up oil pan. So fix that. But they won't.
Yeah.
They won't. And
that's the difference, man. It's like, again, you're old. You're like, so I've been in the game now. It's crazy, 21 years. So you've been what?
I've been messing with. Like I said, I started when I was 8, and that wasn't like voluntary.
Yeah, so you're well over 30 years in the game. Well over 35 years in the game, man. Longer than that. You know, I turn 36 soon. Actually, a couple weeks next week, and then so like now it's just I know you're definitely there. I'm just kind of getting there where I don't really offer like that much advice anymore because like the guys they're gonna take, like, you're gonna sit there and fucking talk to your blue in the face and I'm fucking black. And you know what I'm saying?
I'm blue.
Yeah. So it's like dudes are like, yeah, and then fuck off. And then like now as a shop, man, I definitely don't do that because like that one day the guy came here with the Subaru and I didn't mean to like throw you out there, but like I was like, I know Mike does Subarus, and he's like, yeah, just stick the fucking bolt in there and it'll pop off. I knew what it was, but I didn't want to tell him as a shop. And if you didn't say nothing, I was gonna tell him to fuck off because he came there. You see how the dude like he was like, well, you're a shop, you gotta tell me. I'm like, I don't gotta tell you shit.
And I was like, you owe them something, man.
I'm like, I don't even fucking know this guy. Like, I don't even know. It's different if John Duffy rolls up here or somebody that I know and I'll talk to and like, hey man, what something about? Anyway, I know John would actually shit about Subaru, but anyway, he just roll up there and people just like seem that because you're a shop. I had dudes rolling here all the time that the shop means advice, and I'm like, I had a dude rolling here for our RX-7 the other day, and he was asking about HKS. I'm like, well, you got to get HKS for that. I don't have the part. I can't get it. And he kind of like, oh, okay. And he's like walked away like unsatisfied. Like, I don't owe you shit.
Everybody's got a personal tuning shop on their damn PC. It's called Google search.
Yeah. And then you got the guy saying it ain't on Google. I'm like, if it ain't on Google, it's because you're probably trying to do something that hasn't been done, which is fucking make it happen. Then now you can come back and you see those search threads where guys can't find nothing and then they're like, blah, nobody knows. They get mad like, dude, yeah, figure it out. And then like, you know, a year later, like, hey man, I figured it out. And then bam, you fucking add it to the thing. I know for sure if I go on, you know, fucking WitchCon, put Big Aim Hit 240, I'll put a lot of shit out there for 240s and different things, man. So it's just like, if it ain't out there, make it happen. And it seemed like these young dudes, man, like that's like long gone, man.
Well, you know, all old heads. I mean, when I was a kid, the old heads said, man,
we're becoming old heads now. Yeah.
You know, so when you get there, you get it. And it isn't like, you try to steer them, man. All right, go ahead and skip the bullshit that we had to deal with, man. Right. We already did all this bullshit. We know it don't work, so just skip it.
Yeah, don't buy that.
They're not gonna listen. They're in that mindset. Yeah. And you tell them there's a chance that you ain't gonna have the same luck we did, and things have changed. You know, things have changed on the street. Things have changed in tune. Technology's improved. You know, by leaps and bounds. Between '96 and today, technology is like not even. They're not even.
Tooling
comparable.
is cheaper.
It's like the Bronze Age and the digital age comparison. Yeah, I feel that all
quickly, man. That thing is just going to keep. I mean, technology is not going to slow down. It's going to keep getting better and better. The tooling is getting cheaper. I mean, now you can get what you're going to get. Now you can get a damn table mounted CNC machine and make like little brackets and stuff. And they got the 3D printers. So it's like now, man,
you get the 3D printers that can print most of the trim in your vehicles, man, for a decent.
It's just it's moving from mass production to you can do it in your backyard. And then and like I said, the bad thing now is I know because I've done it already. I took a few parts at OEM and I sent them out to everybody. I'm not gonna fucking fake the funk. All the shit that we're doing, it comes from fucking China, Indonesia, and everything. And people, they'll get those manifolds. The thing is, I'm in the industry now. I've helped with some of this shit that's been sold by Ready, and I'm like, I know where the manifold come from. I helped design that shit. The dude hit me up, and then the guy's trying to sell me the manifold. I'm like, nah, dude, I can get it for $400 cheaper than what you're trying to sell it to me for. And he's like, I'm hooking you up. I'm like, nah, dude, I helped develop that. It's like, did you talk to this guy? He's like, oh, no. And then I was like, okay, did you talk to this guy? He's like, yeah, we. I'm like, so like you lied to me, dude. Yeah. Like I'm fucking in the scene now. And they're like, it was cool. But it's like now, being in the scene and seeing stuff and knowing what's not going to work and what's going to go wrong. Like I just tell my customers, man, like, hey, man, that's not going to work. And, I save them for themselves. I'll lose money. Case in point, I had a guy come in the other day and he was like, I'm doing the head and everything. And he was like, well, I bought, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, this. I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, I got the valve, the retainers and valves. I'm like, oh, I'm like, dude, that's different. That's not cam swap, man. So I'm like, I'm like, just let's go with the drop-ins because I know they're not drop-ins. I'll measure it. If they work, cool. If not, you have to pay more money. So, the hit and everything, man. Guys will just like throw things in there and they don't do the research and they don't realize. I tell guys, man, building a hit to me is more expensive than the bottom end. Oh yeah, because you got to put all that shit in, take it out, put all that shit in, fucking measure the shims. Like
you start looking at it. I mean, you can get decent pistons, and pistons range from everywhere. And a lot of people don't really realize that most of the pistons are built at the same factory. Right. Just the specifications are made by certain companies. Like HKS Pistons got their own specifications. June, top secret. Right. Yeah, it's all different, Right. So they're built in the same area, but they're not built the same. Right. And everybody's like valve train, and they always want to do head work. And if you got an NA, sure, head work, I can understand it. But they want to do a turbo, and the first thing I want to do, I want to throw cams in it. Well, what about your bottom end? It's a 1992 car. It has 182,000 clicks on it. And for those out there, don't say, well, that converts to this many miles. No, just say it's a 1-for-1 because the gearing here isn't the same. And you'd have no idea how these cars have been driven. Mm-hmm. They've been beat. Right. So if you're going to do it, start with that bottom end. If you're going to work on a motor, fix the bottom end problems. Go ahead and get you some forged internals and stuff. It isn't that expensive. I don't understand why you can spend $1,800 on wheels, but you can't spend $1,800 on rods and pistons.
Kills me. Like, the
what is
direction.
Wrong with you? My motor's blown, but you got them pimp ass wheels, dog.
Exactly. It looks nice. You got them tins to keep them clean.
Them shits. That car look good as fuck. Can't move, but it look good as fuck.
So yeah, man, it's crazy, man. Like it's just I'm definitely not gonna drop names on this, but I had more than a few customers where I've done engine work, and then I'm like, hey man, that your clutch thing is contaminated. All right, that's cool. Put like another $2-3 grand in it. Your clutch shit is still contaminated. I'm like, dude, that's like $28 and like an hour of labor to fix that. And they just looking at like, well, now your fucking clutch don't work and you can't stop the car. You know what I mean? It's just like they don't I don't know, man. I mean, we know how to do it, so it's cool for us. We try to impart the knowledge onto these younger guys, and they just don't want to take it. So I just was lucky. I mean, again, I met you and everything. I already had my style and everything, but just like we definitely picked up some like some facts and things to do and what not to do in regard to Subaru. That's why like when I got the Subaru, like talking to you so long, man, like I found out about the third why the number 3 knocks because I didn't know the exhaust fucking runs right there. Yeah. Shit like that. It's like I talked to you so much and John so much and all those guys and Jason, Sterling, all you guys, man, that I knew like pretty much what's what. So like what's the deal with everybody in the States blowing fucking EJs? Like, what are they doing?
All right, so like the motors get better as they get older.
Right.
Not older, but every iteration seems to be improving. And I don't follow the stateside so much, but I can tell you what one guy had compared between an EJ207 and an EJ257, 255. He was like, the 207 is a Rolex. Right. The 257 is like a Timex. The guys are saying they've got piston ring problems, rod bearing problems, or whatever. I know that EJ20Ks, for example, are horrible about rod bearings.
EJ20Ks, that's for the GC.
Like the version 3, version 4s. Okay. The EJ20Gs were hydraulic lash adjustment heads. They didn't flow well. They were just kind of meh. But some of them came with a closed deck block, which is what everybody wanted. It's more or less, you always hear about a whole bunch of bad things that happen, and people don't really brag about how good the car is. You're always going to get that. You're always going to get that. Well, it's like the military. You're always going to see the bad shit, but you're not going to see the good shit. So realistically, the numbers are there, but these are people that are beating on the car. And when you beat on a car, it's going to break. Right. And remember what I told you about a sports car. We call them women for one reason. I know it's going to offend some people, but you know what? They're wide up top, they're skinny in the middle, and they wide in the ass. Yeah. And once a month, they're just going to break, and the only thing you can do is throw money and chocolate at it. For a car, it ain't chocolate, but you get the idea. But when you buy a sports car, in your mind, you should be like, all right, I'm buying somewhat of a money sink because I'm not going to be nice to this car. I know I'm not going to be nice to this car. I'm not just going to roll it, cruise. Right. Some people will, but most people are like, I'm going to drive the piss out of this car. I got 300 horsepower of just raw, let's go screw some. And it breaks. It happens. Yeah, it happens. But the difference between the boys and the men, all right, so John Duffy blew his motor. Threw a rod through it. John Duffy,
MSP?
We didn't throw a rod. He blew it though, and it was time. The motor, he'd been beat on it. This guy that did over 200 laps on a track on a 1998 Impreza. And he was just like, well.
Just move on, like laugh about it and move on.
Laugh about it, move on. Let me fix it, So he does. And then that motor gives out. And you know what? He's like, oh, well, we'll do it again. I've seen guys, and I'm not kidding you, grown-ass men blow a motor and cry.
Yeah. I remember the first. I was definitely an adult my first time I blew an engine. I was like, it sucked. I sat in the car like, fuck, man. And then it's like, all right, next day I got up, got a KA and did it. And then I blew 4 KAs within 2 years. And I just kept doing it until I figured out why I was doing it. Why I was doing it was because I came from Honda, and Honda, the KA it's a truck it's like the longer stroke. Yeah. So it's not fucking meant to be fucking at 8,000 RPMs like the Honda. And the dude's like, I went to meet an older guy. He's like, so what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm revving. He's like, dude, 72 or under, 68 is better. He's like, the mixed power from the fucking, it's 2.4 liter and shit. And from that last one, took that advice, man. Didn't blow it no more, man, because I fucking set it. I had the fucking big ass tack. I just had the not the tack, but just the light. Had that set it fucking with the one on you turn on the back and everything. Yeah. Had that set. Oh, not actually, no. I had the old school, the pill. Yeah. I put the pill on there and everything, and I didn't blow it anymore. The car got sold or whatever, man. But it's like a lot of guys just shit's gonna break, man. And that's the one thing I kick, man. It's like some people feel like it's a blanket statement, like issuing like, hey, it's only gonna work for a little bit. And I'm like, nah, dude. If this is number one, they're aftermarket parts, so they emulate stock parts, but they're not. And that's why all that shit always say off road. They're fucking saving their ass, man, because it's not really meant to work like factory. It's not gonna.
Most reputable shops are not gonna tell you to do something shady, right? They're gonna tell you what to do, how to do it, and why to do it. They're gonna break it down because you know what? They just spent all this time building this motor for you, right? For those guys that do the bought not build. Yeah, like I'm not even gonna get in that argument because everybody's different. Some people have time, some people don't care. Mm-hmm. They just like to drive, gas and oil types. Right. But their job isn't. Yeah, they want to make more money off of you, but not by causing you to blow the motor. Right. All right, we tuned it. All right, here's the boost. The boost is at 1.4 bar. This is it. This is a safe boost. Yeah. Don't fuck with it.
Don't touch it.
And then the motherfucker goes out and they jack it to 1.6, and then they blame it on an EJ20 or a Nissan or Subaru.
We know a guy in particular that did that. And then he wrecked the 33 shortly after that, and
so they change the parameters, and then it blows, and then they badmouth that shop. It ain't the shop's fault you didn't listen. They told you what not to do. You did it. Now you're going back to them, wanting more work from them, and they're going to charge you more money because they found out that you did exactly what they told you not to do. And if you did it, they're not going to cover it. Yeah,
I'm in a situation like that right now, and I know he's watching. So definitely Darius, which is set up with the 32, like that was, he didn't know, had a knowledge to build the engine. I built the engine, everything worked good, and then he said he was gonna work on it himself. So we automatically didn't. The warranty wasn't there. We talked about that, and it was online a little bit. And he's bringing it back. I mean, he's cool. He understands. It was a mistake he made on his part with fueling. And, like, again, he's already put that out. It's already online, so it's not like a secret. And, of course, I talked to him, but I was like, hey, I was asking. Because my thing is, like, yeah, I'm here to get paid. But at the same time, man, like, it's like when you build these engines and these cars, they kind of become, like, it's not yours, but it kind of, it's like it's like a kid, man. Yeah. It's like I just want to make sure stuff is going well. I don't know if you've seen the last one with Quan. His car is on the trailer because I noticed that we heard the ticking. Sure enough, man, I shut it down, man. The cams, they were installed backwards, like 2 of them were reversed. So the camshaft was being, like, kind of was being pulled. So that weight, when it pulled it like this, the load was like stressing the bucket out. The bucket inside of the body, the bucket rotated around until, like, now it's like supposed to be straight. The bucket is like, and you can go like this all the way around. So we shut it down. And he's like, man, he's happy as hell because I pretty much saved the engine. All that work he did, it would have been because the RB is an interference engine. Well, 20 is a little bit. You can kind of get away with it. You don't want to do it, but the 26 and 25, it was smash. Yeah. And is the Subaru interference?
Yeah, they're interference.
So I think the only one I know of personally is the Jay-Z is their non-interference.
Yeah, I don't have all the info on the Jay-Z. I've been told, and I've watched a couple videos that say they're non-interference. So.
But I mean, you definitely still don't want to pop a belt off and shit. But I know dudes will pop belts off and it stops and you time the fucking head and you time the bottom and you put a belt back on there and go. So I know that's why a lot of guys prefer because I think still, even though it's non-interference, if your non-interference is still at 9,000 RPMs and it goes, I think shit's still going to stretch a little bit. Yeah. Maybe that piston's just going to go like top this and a little bit more up. And it's like,
and the Subarus, the pistons actually crest the block. So they are definitely there.
It's a dome shape?
It actually comes up out of the block. Okay. The piston actually will come up above that deck of the block. Okay. So, and, you know, we talked about it before and we just said it, man, but you get attached to them, but if it fails, it fails. You go back to the drawing board, or you look at, okay, did I fuck something up? Yeah. No. Okay, was I just beating on it? No. Was it what caused it? Was it something? Was it a material? Was it me? Was it what is it? You know, and sometimes you catch it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you did something bad, sometimes it was the parts. The big deal, the biggest issue that separates the real gearheads from not gearheads is when shit does go. You just
fucking
you just throw your hands up and say fuck it, I'm done. Yeah, I know. I mean somebody that's just had it non-stop beat on them the whole year. Yeah. I mean that dude that just the woman, the driver, boom, pops. Fuck it, I'm done with this shit. I'm just gonna get a Honda.
I know a lot of those guys.
A poser. You was never a gear. We know a lot following the current trend because 10 years ago we didn't have this kind of following in cars. You know, there was those of us that did, and then there was those people that all they did was bad. I don't know why you spend all that money on the car. Why do you go downtown and drink all that and spend all that money on alcohol? Yeah,
it's different, man. I don't knock anybody.
When I left, the same time all these other guys left, they were bad mouthing me, and I had sold my car, so I had $7,500 in my pocket. Was you able to sell back all that alcohol? Well, I had some great times. I had good times too in pictures, but I got $7,500 in my pocket. So let people have fun. Just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, and speaking of that, that's like one thing too. I know that's the biggest thing I see right now. It's just a lot of guys they're overvaluing things or not undervaluing things or just like whatever like this that 180 I got out there. You seen that was the one you
yeah.
So that was a I didn't actually buy that. My business partner got that because he's starting up a drift thing, and then pretty much he knows my worth and how I flip cars. So that's gonna have an interesting engine, and I'll talk with you. Yeah. I'll talk with you about that swap offline. Some of the things I kind of don't want to be secretive about things because I mean the social media now, even if you try to hide it, there's so many people coming in and out of here. Even if they don't take a picture, they're gonna talk. So I mean that's why the cappuccino thing, it was already getting out. So I was like, fuck, man, I'm going to go and release it. And you see how that went crazy. Yeah. And everybody's like, you're a fucking dumbass. And I got no shit like threats, like, don't ruin this. And I'm like, it's my fucking shit, man. Like, and like the dudes are like mad because they can't, like, so now it's in process. I haven't done it. So now people are like, people are like, oh, well, you failed. I'm like, nah, I'm just going to slap you with it. I'm just going to show it up driving and everything. Because that build shit, man, it's, back in the day on the forums, guys that do build threads, and now it's just like you got Instagram and nobody really cares. I mean, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, they just want to see the final product.
Yeah, well, I know like before we took that little break, we was talking about like the money put into a car versus the money you get out. You just consider it 10% rule is what I've always considered talking about it wise. Yeah, you might have spent maybe $10,000 on the build of a car, but the value of the car, you're going to get maybe the value of the car plus 10% of what you've invested into it. Guys get this aspect, well, I've dropped $70,000 in this car, and it's a $10,000 car. I'm going to ask $100,000. You ain't going to get it. It's just not going to happen. People don't work that way.
Go to Barrett Jackson with your RB26 swap S13. Like, get that shit out of here. Like you can't even actually go to Barrett Jackson. You can't. I know recently S13 did sell on there. Yeah. I don't know how much it sold for, but it was like whatever it sold for was like chump change compared to what really sells in there. I mean, you couldn't even park in an exclusive parking lot with that shit. And
then go back to what you originally talking about. People get mad. I mean, all right, so if you chopped up a 22B, I'd probably be in here calling you an asshole. Yeah. But I mean, you're talking about a 22B or a Nismo 400R. There's no way that I would modify a 400R.
Right.
Because that's such a thing. Or a real Kid's Heart 180SX.
Right. A real one, yeah.
Yeah, a real one. You know, a Seal 80. Kid's Heart Seal 80, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to fuck those up. But these everyday cars, chop the shit out of them. Yeah. Shoot, like a Coupe Impreza. I will never modify a Coupe Impreza with a different motor in it because there really weren't that many made. But the 4-doors, which I have, that's a different story. Right. And I've always wanted to do it. And guys in the States, y'all don't understand. You think that Japan is so easy to modify cars. Man, we are so locked down. Yeah. Like, you can do a 1J swap in a GM6 or GC8 here, you know. But you can't do that here if you've got to cut the firewall. If you got to cut the firewall, of course you can't register.
I mean, unless you wanted to be off-road.
And then you have to have a carrier bearing in your propeller shaft or drive shaft for y'all out there. You have to have that carrier bearing. So you can't just go with a solid one piece easily. You have to do certain things like structural damage. You know, everybody's like, well, you can't JCI a car if it's got structural damage and you can't repair it. You can, but you have to go to a welding shop that is licensed to do structural repair, document that, and then go up to the Land Transportation Office and have that repair put on the title, and they have to inspect it.
Right, that's why they don't. Yeah,
we might get certain things, and we might have access to stuff a lot easier, but then as far as modifying stateside, man, you get away with murder compared to, oh my God, you get away with murder.
Then in the stateside, the amount of, like, the like, one thing, you know, being here and knowing how it was in the States, like, machine work is a lot more expensive here, because they're like, feels like you got the guys in nationality, then you got maybe another prefecture, and guys there, and you got NAPRIC. There's like, for like, I mean, then you go in the States, there's like, I mean, I didn't know how it was when I went back to Baltimore. There was like a transmission shop. There's like a shop on 4 corners, and they all got like 30 cars in a lot. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing, man? Like, it's like saturated with all the cars there, and then like over here, you know, you paying for the skill set. And then I didn't know that as well. I didn't know the reason why there's not, you know, when there's so many junk cars of like little minor stuff, like the NSX. The guy maybe hit a curb that broke the lower control line, which is meant to snap. It's aluminum, and the wheel went back, and like, I'm like, this whole car was junk for a little flimsy, which you can hammer out. It's like, and they just junk it. So I was like, what the fuck? And he was like, well, there's no.
Yeah, please don't just take a hammer to an NSX like somebody else. Yeah, they do, man. The Japanese, in certain aspects, not necessarily the car guys, but the average drivers, they will, man. Little things, they'll just trash it. Yeah, you know, the Japanese are very, very superstitious. Yeah. I'm not gonna fault them for that.
That's 2000. The reason I got that because the guy, I got it back. You know, I sold it. I just got it back, and the guy wrecked it, and he just wanted. It's like they wanted, that night was whatever, and that energy, and he was gonna junk it, and I was like, dude, I'll take it. I'm like, I don't, whatever energy you had, I don't care. I got S2000 for free. I'll take it. So like,
so they get that feeling out of it, that like bad car. You know, like they watch too much Wangan Midnight, The Devil's Z.
Yeah, he didn't want to drive it. He didn't want to. When I built it back, he was like, like he didn't want to touch it. Yeah, it was like weird, man. But it's kind of crazy how it is over here. But then, I mean, I know, because you've been here longer than I have. I've seen some. I'm rolling down the road like, that's a 1978 Ferrari sitting on top of that pile of pallets down in Nico, man. Like, just sitting there. The one looked like the Magnum PI I drove. Yeah. And it was like a 78 supercharged one. And just seeing, like, I'll be driving, even in Masawa, like one did like that. What's kind of that car that Mike got recently? That long,
the BMW?
No, that fucking long Cadillac.
Oh, you mean his old
Eldorado?
I think it's a Lincoln.
Lincoln. Yeah. So like that garage where he got it from, somebody told me about it, and I seen the other car sitting there before, and then one day it was open, and I was like, dude, it was like an S13 in there, a CRX, and we asked the guy, and the guy he was like, well, he wanted 9K for the CRX. I was like, nah, dude. Not,
it'll get it here nowadays.
Yeah, so he knew what it was, and then like I guess when that dude told, I was like, dude, don't tell nobody. And he fucking told. Mike knew about it already, but he told people, and then they started going there and inquiring and shit. So the guy was like, fuck, this is a gold mine. So it was a few cars, and it's right by the Ineos by you know what it is.
Yeah,
and,
I don't.
But you'll see some gyms just like you'll be riding, you'll see a fucking Hakoska just hanging out the garage, and they just like, and you go and ask them about it. And they're like, we're gonna get on it next week. Actually, 10 years later, it's still sitting right there. So that you know that one R32 I rescued that one, and then that now I feel bad because I didn't want to sell it. I had to sell it to keep money in the shop, but they ruined that fucking car, man. And it was, you know, the dude told me that it was a wife's car. She passed away, and he wanted to he just kind of kept it for a while, and then I think he was like Shinobu was saying something like her smell was still in it. I was like, so I was like, it was like cool, and he told us right as we were leaving, I was like, man, that's just fucked up the mood, man. Except that I was getting the Skyline, and then like turned out because his wife was dead, and we had to go through that shit. And that was for 15 years. One thing I learned that day was the road tax wasn't paid, and that's what I told her. It was like the road tax wasn't paid. You know, they're not gonna fucking track you down. They'll send you out those letters and shit, but they're not gonna.
Yeah, I've heard that they've changed the laws on that. So if the car is not JCI'd and you're not driving it, the road tax won't keep acquiring up. But I don't know how or when that's supposed to take place or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, there's just different things, and you see some like really, really beautiful cars. I mean, we've got I think it's a Gran Turismo V8 or Super V8 Maserati, pearl white with a blue and red racing stripe down it that rolls around Misawa. And this is a little old farm town, and he comes rolling up beside me, and it's just that big V8, and he's just like, and I'm like, oh my god, what in the hell? Yeah, you know, or the dude that's like randomly driving Ferrari. Like what's on a
Saturday or Sundays when they drive those. But yeah, man, that's pretty crazy, man, how that goes. But it's so many cars here, and then like you get, you know, I mean, for me, it's like you can buy a lot of stuff, and you kind of get that candy store syndrome where some guys, you know, do that. They're not fixed on one thing, which you don't have to be. But they just like they'll have a Subaru, then they'll get an Evo, then they'll do that, then they'll like the guy who sold that to me bought an Evo with the cash that I paid him for that. So he just like I never owned it, I never had it, and I just want to get it and everything. And kind of like me, man, it's like the Gran Turismo. So now it's like that's what I'm kind of doing, man. I'm like, oh, cool, like piece of candy, like piece of candy, like James Wood. Yeah, like ooh, piece of candy, man. Yeah, that's. It's hard not to do that, but you gotta. I know you've done it, but like, nah, I'm good, man. I don't need, because you already know you got 3 fucking projects going on, and like then you'll get that one, and then like you know, some projects they'll automatically take priority over what you already got going on. That's almost 80% done, and you fucking start back over. Like, man, so
like the last 180 I did, the white one I had, so I'd spent $400 just on bolts. And I'm not talking about I went to some hardware store. No, I went to Nissan and I bought bolts, like the specific bolts for this car. Yeah. And I had it almost done, and this kid wanted this car. And I was like, all right, hold on, put the brakes on, man. I was like, look, everything I own's for sale if you got the money. It doesn't matter. You know, I've had people want to buy the coupe, and I told them 10 G's. Yeah. And he's like, why is 10 G's a set? I said, because as soon as I sell it to you, I'm going to go buy another coupe. So you're going to give me 10 so I can go buy another one. Yeah. And they're like, well, actually, why don't I just go buy one for 10 then? And I was like, well, then why are you bothering me? You know, you know, it's tit for tat here. It doesn't matter. You just solved your own problem. You know, I told him, you know, pump the brakes. You know, every time they see something, somebody's got something they want it, they got to have it. All right, so I sit down with this kid, and we wrote this paper, and I was like, I haven't done this, and this needs to be done, and I think this is, you know, the coil pack's messed up right now and needs a replacement, and this. Now, this big, massive list of stuff that still needed to be done. Now, the car would start, run, and drive, but it wasn't complete. Right. All right. And he's like, yeah, let me think about it, come back. And he's like, dead set. So we sit down again, and we went over this list, and I said, all right, I've already fixed this and this. The price ain't changed. But I said, this, and this, all this is still messed up. I say messed up, but still needs to be fixed. Right. You know, it's a full restore. The guy had given me the car, had completely stripped it down to nothing but windows and doors. There was nothing left on it. No harnesses, nothing. So I had to start from the ground up. And like I went over it with him like several times. He buys it, and then he starts bad mouth. There's a piece of shit. This is wrong. I was like, hold on, pump your brakes. Where's that paper? He didn't want to grab that paper out. because he bought it with these known issues and then was
Right.
trying to say that it was my problem. No, I told you before you bought it, this needs to be fixed. You don't need to get into this if it's not in your skill set. Don't buy something that's outside of your skill set and then get mad after you were told.
People know right away, man. And that's why, again, when they see the cappuccino and NSX, like, to them, because they haven't been around, got the metal work, and they haven't built the car. A lot of people haven't. I mean, they even tell, like, well, you didn't build it, you just put it together. Like, well, you don't fucking, you get Legos all together. You put it together, you assemble it. Everybody can't do it. So, like, a lot of people, I don't think they realize, like, I mean, the like you say, right? I think that's one thing. I mean, you being an older guy, that you definitely did that. Like, now it's like you got so much fucking, even with PCs, we'll talk about that in a little bit. You got so much fucking clicking. You go on those sites now, and it's like you can just, you like, I got a Z32 transmission with this ABS with this, and you can pretty much just build your shit, and then it arrives. You pay for it. And you don't. So back in the day, you had to go around and find this and find that, and a lot of guys, and you had to write this down.
Well, in like having the workaround, like, you know, like certain places won't sell you parts without a title,
right?
And so if they know you after a while, you can just go in and order whatever the hell you want.
Because they know you're not going to come back and say, "Oh, this is wrong."
If you had the wrong S chassis, didn't have 4 pots on it, and you did the Z32 R32 brakes, and you wanted a rebuild kit, they wouldn't sell you the rebuild kit unless you had an R32 title. So a lot of us have stacks of copies of titles for different cars
over there,
you know, to order the parts we need.
Yeah.
But that was one of the biggest issues, was finding all this crap to put it all together. And just because it worked doesn't mean that it's going to work with this one, because Japan and America, for that aspect, certain cars had little quirks.
Right.
Like certain brakes were slightly bigger than others. Or certain arms might have been a little bit longer than others on the model. Now, the model is exactly the same thing, but something somewhere was changed.
It'll be a K, just like the Qs, the Ks, like it'll be like 235 millimeters versus 250. And I found it out the hard way because I had a 180, and then I got it and I put them on there, and like, why the fuck are the rotors in? Like, why is the dust shield like here and the rotors are like? And then you put the fucking brakes on, and then like I had a 33 where I had the oversized brake pads, so the brakes were like here and the rotor was inside, and I was like, they fucking wore down, and it was like new material with the wore down shit. So. Yeah, like stuff like that I found it hard, because I thought all, you know, I thought all Skylines were the same, but you got the HR, ER, you got the B, it's all these different trims, and you sit them all on the table here, and they'll be.
Yeah, and the Japanese knew that they could do these Lego moves with all these parts and these little upgrades, and so every time you buy a car, you don't really know what you're getting. Yeah, you know, all right, I got it. All right, I have an HCR.
Right.
You know, or I have a GC8 version 4, but then there's certain parts you're looking at it and you're like, you know, or I've got an Evo, you know, and you're just like, then you go order the part thinking that's what it is. And Americans on base with the regular ones, and this is one of my favorites, they go order stuff from AutoZone because the model's sold in America, and then the part don't fit, and then they don't know what to do, so they just chunk it. You know, I've seen guys throw out brand new rotors because they don't fit their car.
Yeah.
But they didn't do the research to figure out why.
Doorless. And
I'll give you a cool little tidbit. Everybody wanting to buy endless brakes, you know, and this is something that I've recently found out. Endless won't sell you the brake brackets. They don't. When you buy your brake calipers from Endless, they come with the brackets, but they won't sell them brackets separately. So everybody's like, I'm going to buy Endless brakes. There's a set on here. They're cheap. You better find a machine shop to build them brackets. And over here, that's an issue. In the States, you can do it all day long. But so every time you get a new car, it's your new toy, and you're all happy about it, and you're like, oh, yay, look at me, ha ha. And then you go start changing parts or doing shit, and then you're like, this don't fit, and this don't fit, this don't fit. And motherfuckers come in and be like, Slip, Mick, hey, I need to mix your mind. I was like, yeah, man, what you got? And he's like, this, and I'd be looking, I'd be like, oh yeah, man, that's this, that's that, blah blah blah. Well, how do you know? I was like, yeah, because I did the same shit.
Yeah, man. It's like, yeah, when you done it, it's like, yeah, that's not gonna. And you just let them kind of do their thing, and like you tell them like, yeah, okay, go ahead and do it, man. Go ahead and buy it.
Like a high speed pull, they're in their car, right, and they like go to hit the brakes, man, and that front end starts shaking because the brakes got hot and the front end shaking. I'm like, let off the brakes. And he's like, they let them off, and they're scared they can't slow down. But we got plenty of room to keep going straight. We just might have to bypass the turn, right? And they keep hitting the brakes, and you start shaking. I start messing with them, pulling that little dude off of, what is it, The Simpsons. I'm in danger.
Yeah, man, it's just crazy that a lot of people really don't, it's like they see the mods right in front of them. And then, like, I kind of not got on the guy, but I was like, look, man, like, he was talking all the stuff about this, and his big break. I'm like, so what are you gonna do about the bore master and your? So no, it's cool. I'm like, nah, dude, that's more fluid that got to get pushed. That little fucking, it's not gonna push that fluid.
Yeah,
so what's gonna happen is like you're gonna have like a controlled fucking leak. Like it's not gonna be enough fluid to actually physically go through there fast enough to fill all fucking 6 of those goddamn pistons up on both sides. And then like, plus then like, so what about the rear? He's like, oh no, I'll just get the front. So now your fucking car, if it does stop, now it's gonna be fucking going like doing endos and shit, man.
Yeah, your brake bias gets all messed up. Or people that don't understand that turbos have restrictor pills, and they think, no, I just bolted it on there.
Yeah, and then like
I got into the point where, and it's bad to say that, man. You try to help them, and you really, really, you want these people to succeed. You want them to have fun. You want them to stay in the game. And everybody's gonna make mistakes. And I've told guys, I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, man. If something happens, call me. But I've always told them the same thing. Look, man, I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I can't rebuild you. I've told you this before. Yeah. Wreck your car all day long. I'll be in a garage with you grinding, getting that motherfucker back together. But don't hurt yourself.
Right.
And so I was like, please just call me, man. And don't be embarrassed. I was like, we're all like gearheads, and most of us are prior military, and so we have a really mean sense of humor. Right. Bad. Yeah. So you're gonna catch some flack. Yeah. But in the end, we'll get it back to going. But I was like, please don't be scared, man. Whatever. But you tell them, and you're like, it's not gonna work that way. But now I've gotten to the point where there's a select few that I still will say, all right, this is the reason why, and I'll spell it out to them. And there's others that I've done that so many times and they didn't listen. I'm just like, let me know how that works out for you. Yeah. And then, a week and a half later, they in the shop, that motor's toast or that like, yeah, man, the seals of my turbine are blowing oil. And I was like,
yep.
I kind of saw that coming. And they'd be mad at me like, well, why didn't you say something? Man.
People kind of got to learn, man, and everything. But that's how it generally goes, man. We beat up the car thing a little bit, man. I know one thing I know you're big into is gaming. We both, because like we share the motorsports, gaming, like pretty much a lot of similarities in like, computers and stuff like that. So like for gaming and stuff, like what are you any new stuff you're on, or any new any boards you can't clear, Contra or something like that? Yeah, it's like
a friend of mine, Chris, got me the Raspberry Pi, I think is what it's called, so it allows me to play
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, dude, it's this little bitty black box, man. It's awesome, and you can download all your favorite old school.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just download it. And I got a controller for it and everything. You got it for me a while ago, so I love playing the old school games.
Yeah.
And I got on a private server to start playing WoW again, just to play the classic because I like it. Yeah. And I downloaded Diablo 2, the old school, and so I could play it. But I haven't really got into anything. Sekiro is a game that I want to get into. It's just got my interest up, but it's from the same people that brought out Dark Souls.
Okay.
So I've got that mindset. It's too hard to get good,
Is it like one of those? Is it like most of the games now coming out? Are they like trying to be like the never-ending games, like where they just like what's WoW is WoW one that just pretty much goes on forever?
Dude, it's been going on.
There's no end to it.
No. Yeah. They just keep adding that on it. But no, these are different games. These are like PlayStation and Xbox
games.
They
gotta have an end. Yeah.
They're not really. They're difficult for people that don't know how the mechanics work. Right. And some of them, like the old school Dark Souls and the camera. Oh my God. But those games were like difficult for some people, but you're used to it. If you grew up playing Nintendo games, you were used to just things not going your way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, shit, man.
Dude, I know dudes now that still rage about the dog from Duck Hunt. Hated that dog when you miss a duck.
Remember Go 13?
Yeah.
I couldn't get past the snipe because at that time. Now if I play it now with being older, now I can read the stuff. It was like kind of like trying to play Metal Gear as a 3-year-old. Like, you're not gonna know to fucking go back there and put those cards in the cold to get them cold and then go back. So it's like now, like if I went back now, and I probably, I haven't even been touching that because I've been so busy here, and I love gaming, but it's one of those things where you can't touch it because if you touch it, you're gonna be there 3 hours, man.
Yes, and that's my son has mainly picked up most of the games, but he's into Fortnite, Apex Legends, and stuff like that. He plays those. He's good at it. For a while there, he was playing, I think, the last Black Ops game, and he was murking some dudes. Yeah. Some of you dudes in the States might have been playing against his ass. Y'all was cussing at a 10-year-old.
Was he doing your knifing?
No. He won't even play with me no more because he could murk me, right? And I was like, is there a throwing weapon in this game? He's like, yeah. And so he gave it to me, and it took me all of like 3 games to figure out the all the geometry and everything on the gravity and everything. And then I murked him on one map, the whole map, and all I did was use a throw weapon. And then he won't play me no more. He's like, "No, Daddy, screw that," you know. But I haven't really messed with too many, man. Like I just kind of put it down because I've been so wrapped up in the car thing. And with the computer, I got what's it, old i7 4770, I think it is. And I have 16 gig of RAM and a decent video card, and nothing's taxing it that I like playing. So it's
that's the crazy thing now, man. It's like it seems like back in the day when I started, it was like you couldn't get. Well, I remember. I mean, when I started, man, I know. I mean, it's probably more. I mean, my first computer was a Apple II, and it was the green screen and everything. They hit the little turbo button. I don't think it did shit. It's like it is pressing in and then like a little number change in the front, hit the little golf ball. And then that was my mom. They threw that shit away, and I thought I was on the internet. I didn't know shit. I was like, oh my, I'm like still in bank codes, and it's like this little 5.5, the 5.2, whatever floppy disk or whatever. And then we got my first computer was there was a program in Baltimore where kids were like in a little slow, or they deemed slow. They didn't. It was when that shit was changing where they trying to medicate kids. My brothers weren't fucking slow. They didn't fucking want to do schoolwork. So but out of that, we got a fucking Packard Bell. They gave us a Packard Bell and shit. So that was like my first real computer, and it kind of went on from there. But like what I was saying is like even like the building car shit. Like back in the day, you had to go to this shop to get the RAM. You had to go fucking over here to get the hard drive. It wasn't all.
Yeah, you couldn't just do no online
all
shopping
in one.
for
it
that.
wasn't
and
all in
it
one
wasn't
place.
necessarily was going to work.
So now it's to the point like I know you got the skills. We can both build PCs from the motherboard up. But now it's almost like with these builds on Tiger Direct is like. It's almost easier just to fucking click
and it's just about to the point where it's cheaper. Used to it was cheaper to build your own machine. And shout out to Hard OCP for back in the day for like I got a lot of really good gear from that. From them guys.
Is Newegg still around?
I'm not sure.
I know. Well, Newegg. I know Tiger. Tiger.
Yeah, Newegg and Tiger Direct. Yeah, but with the Hard OCP, man, they were hardcore about overclocking, and I had never thought about doing the Prime 95. And like, if for an overclock, you had to have 2 reputable stress tests, like 24-hour stress tests. And so when I really got into overclocking, I was part of Hard OCP.
And what kind of cooling was like back in that time? What kind of cooling was available?
Water cooling was still in its infancy, man. Like,
did they like kind of? Oh, not first. I'm like, you gonna fucking put water?
The big copper coolers, man, with fans and stuff. And so we was, man. I mean, just build, and go. And at that time, AMD was the overclocker's dream. AMD chip, the AMD chip. The Intel was. The Pentium was like this smoker, just hot as hell. But AMD was great because you could buy an AMD chip cheaper than you can get an Intel chip.
I know the Intel, like you got the different cores. I mean, the Prescott and all those different ones. And they're the ones that they just ran hot, just
they
normal.
were just hot. Yeah, you could have put an egg on that and just had cooked it. But I got into it, and believe it or not, my buddy was in computers, and I like playing them. My first, so I'll just go show you my age and stuff. Man. When I first seen like computers and stuff, my friend had it was 5.5 inch floppy, and you popped it in, and you had to bring up the directory, and then you had to type in the game and execute and all this shit. We played it, dude. And it was like, and the computer was like, It's like, so, and then, and then like ColecoVision and Atari. All right, so I've got to watch it go from that to where we are now. So I'm extremely thankful.
Where fucking reality is blurred. It's like, is that a fucking...
Yeah. So I'm thankful, man. And people take that for granted sometimes to realize what you really have. Because what you think's awesome right now, you're going to be my age one day. If you're lucky, you're going to live to be 42, motherfucker. That shit's going to be like, you're going to be sitting around like me and you are doing a podcast, laughing about how crappy it was, man. And you're going to want to go back and play it. I got a stepbrother that him and his friends play Nintendo games, and they love them. That's the greatest thing, coolest thing ever. But I remember being back home for emergency leave purposes, and they were playing Zelda. Now, mind you, this was in the 2000s. I hadn't touched Zelda since like way back in the day, man. I was a kid, and I had already been in the military like several years, and they were struggling. I literally told them, I said, let's go get some Hot Pockets and some popcorn and some Coke, and let's sit down, let's play this.
Dude, oh, man, dude.
And then I just started going through it, and I was like blowing the holes in the walls. And he's like, how do you know it's there? I was like, can't you see that little mark, man? He's like, how do you remember all this? I was like, you have no idea.
You don't.
months, years trying to.
And this was like, and this was, I think, probably when you were like, I didn't buy. I think I bought maybe once a tutorial. You remember the game guide?
Yeah.
Was it a game guide or?
It was Nintendo Power.
Yeah, Nintendo. Yeah. So dudes used to buy like, I mean, Luke, we can beat shit and you go flip through it. And I was like, man, it's kind of like, let's figure this shit out, man. So I think now, man, I see the Switch. Again, I don't really know. Like, I got the PS4, but it's like, man, it seemed like it's going PC. It seemed like PC. You know, the PC console debate is going. I'm like, man, fucking do both. They both got their, you know, they got their advantages. And pretty much what it comes down to, the whole debate is like titles, man. Like, what do you like to play? Gran Turismo, fucking PS4. It's not on Xbox. It's not. I don't have nothing.
Forza, you go with, you know.
Yeah, I don't have anything against Xbox. I just don't. I just like Gran Turismo. If it wasn't for that game, I wouldn't be here. Like that. I mean, you see all the ones down there. Like that, I got all those from Hard Off. But Gran Turismo is what got. I didn't like, you know, you had your uncle and stuff like that. I didn't know there was nobody in the cars, and most of the guys that were in the cars from where I'm from were like into, like, you know, the Caprices and shit like that, like whatever, man. But yeah, man, like I think the gaming shit is going to revert back to, and I see it already. They coming up with the retro boxes because like now they like the people like want to see what they missed, and like
there was a lot of great titles, man, a lot of really great games, and now people are starting. There are a lot of us that argued, man. They call us elitist or whatever. It's like content. Content is the biggest portion.
Yeah.
The story is a big part of the game. It could immerse you in.
Right.
And one of the things that people really don't want to have to deal with is the lack of ability to save. You know, back in Nintendo days, either you beat the whole game at once,
or you're done.
And you have to start all over. And I remember the first game that had me raging, like rage, and I beat it. I beat the original Ninja Gaiden. I loved that game, but that game was like aneurysm.
Ninja Gaiden, it had a black cartridge, right?
Yeah. You know, and you'd be playing it, and you get hit, you get knocked off the screen, something, and you would you would make a jump, and he would land on the post underneath. And you could go and land on the other post, but you couldn't get back up. You just had to commit suicide and jump off and die.
Right.
There was no getting back up. But that was like the first game that got me like raging. And then, you know, PlayStation came out, and I had to get me a PlayStation, and I bought me a PlayStation. And then that was when Ace Combat came out.
Right.
And then I realized that I could just go on like one of those never-ending missions, and I could take the disc out after it started and put my favorite music disc in there, and it would start playing it. Man, we'd be in there screwing around, and this was in Okinawa in the dorms in the day room, and we'd have the Top Gun theme in there playing.
That shit like that, man. That was like the change. Like I remember when I discovered that, and I think PlayStation came out around the same time. PlayStation 1 was kind of.
Yeah, it was.
Internet, I think, PlayStation 1 was 90.
Well, no, because at that point, I think we were at 56K.
Yeah, so that was,
right.
And DSL was right after that, because I know PlayStation 2 started the network where they had the adapter that came out towards the end.
Yeah.
And then, like, back then, I mean, DSL was.
Oh, see, that was one of the funny things, because when PS2 got announced, I went right to the video store and put my pre-order in. I was in Okinawa, so I was getting an Okinawa one.
Right.
Or not Okinawa, just getting one Japanese one. So I put my pre-order in. It came in, and I got it. And, man, I loved it. And so I played so many great games on my PlayStation 2. I loved it, and I kept it. But that model was the missile guidance chip model. And if you did to upgrade it, it would do whatever. So I never upgraded it, never hooked it online. I was like, you're not getting it. Because I remember all I had to do was hold all 4 buttons, and I could play any DVD I wanted. And Sony can say what they want, but it came up in Japanese that said, this is bad, and you shouldn't be doing this. You know, if it's on there, then you know that they put that shit in there intentionally.
Yeah, that's kind of like, it's because, like, I remember Mod Chip, man?
Yeah.
So I modded, my first thing I modded was the Xbox. That was the one when you put, it was like they knew it. They made it like there was. You take the chip, you put it on there, and it's like it was made. Like they knew it. So they I guess the development. So I think pretty much they did. Somebody in the thing stole it and then remade it and sold it, and then you put it on there and you solder them in. I tried to do a PS2 and that was fucking. You had to solder to the fucking. I didn't have the magnifying, so they was like you got to put a fucking razor blade in between the leg and the solder to that. I fucked that. I bricked that fucking thing. And then after that, they came out with one that I got the one where it was less. You just take the power plug and you intercept it and you hold the fucking you hold it until it turns like amber. Then after that, the shit'll pop out and then you load your. And I was like, it was cool. I mean, I only did it a few times just because I went on fucking line and downloaded the game and then I burned it and then I'm playing a burnt game. And I was like, man, technology is getting fucking crazy, man. Where now. you do all that stuff like that, man. So
I'm one of those. I get stuck in games. So like I'm a big Dark Souls. Like I keep saying Dark Souls. I'm a big Dark Souls player. Bloodborne. You know, I'm all those games. Somewhat difficult, but the replayability for me is great.
Yeah.
The Fallout series. I played Fallout series from the top down on PC to what we have now.
Yeah.
Now I didn't jump into that 76 garbage, and it's garbage. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of stuff, man. One thing I think kind of related is cars and gaming. I think like a lot of the new stuff is just it's so saturated. Everything is so fast now that like it just lacks a few gamers get it right, but it's like most of the shit like lacks soul. Like you would never feel like when you. No matter how old you get, man, when Streets of Rage comes on and Contra, all that stuff, man, like, you know, Prisoner of War, POW, the side-scrolling shit. Yeah. Like, when all that stuff comes on, man, like, you just get – I think because I mean, maybe for me, because you were younger, there was a time where you didn't have to worry about bills and shit, and it was just more fun. And I think that's where you just remember those times versus, like, being a fucking adult and not really being able to sit there and game and shit like you do now. But, I mean, you can – but yeah, it just seems like the games now, a lot of shit now doesn't have soul, man. Like it
just lacks. It's more based off of like battle royale or the online content. Like in the modern warfare games, you know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare games. The first few, man, the story was great, man. I remember being enraged. People were enraged when Ghost was capped off. You know, the general capped off Ghost, but the replayability was the online, and the online community was outstanding.
Yeah.
And there was never a time that I got on that game where I couldn't get into a lobby and just game all night.
24 hours a day, yeah.
Yeah, and so Will, he's the one that got me into doing those, and I liked him. But then I like the zombie aspect, and I'm a big co-op style player more than I am competitive wise. Right. But he's the one that got me into the first-person shooters, and then I found out about the throwing knife. Yeah. And then I was like, I like this because it didn't matter what she's wearing. If you caught a knife, he was dead.
Right.
And so I'd run around, and he was just like, dude, how do you do that? I was like, I like it. I like it. So I got one, like they always do these throwing knife montages. And in one of them, they've got the one that I did. Somebody had actually recorded it where you're coming around and you're in like the French Quarter or whatever. And I come down these stairs and there's always some dude that tries to hide in this archway. And you can't see him when you're running. But it'll be a sniper there and somebody leaned up with a gun. And I know they're over there. So I got to where I knew if I threw the knife, it would land in that general area.
Yeah.
And dude, I launched it from across the screen all the way over and first kill, you know. I was like, yeah. He's like, what'd you do? I was like, knife, baby, knife. He's like, you threw a knife all the way over. He's like, yeah. Well, then lo and behold, we're watching montages, and there it comes, running scared, throws the knife, and dude catches it. I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, he got me on that, and the throwing knife thing was great. And then I got back into the Fallout series, and shit. After that, you know, I played a little WoW, played a little D2. Actually started playing a few Flash games every now and then. Played Cuphead. I enjoyed the crap out of Cuphead.
Okay.
But haven't really... Modern titles, Ghost of Tsushima and Sekiro are the two that I'm really, really interested in. And Days Gone is another one that I'd like to play, but I haven't bought anything. I buy my son all this crap, and then I don't really sit down and play any games, man.
So it's like the titles you play, like, so it's mostly PC or
a mix between the two. Yeah. So like, the Diablo games and stuff straight up on PC. I'm not gonna play them on the console. For the most part, it just didn't seem as enjoyable, and the PC was more moddable.
Right.
And I like the ability to play it. You know, back in the days when like Delta Force Land Warrior was like the awesome game to play.
Yeah. This seems like right now the rage is. I got for example GTA 5.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played that or whatever, but I got it on PS3, I got it on PS4, and I got it on PC. And the PC thing, man, I went away, and like now it's just they done took that game from Rockstar, man, and like it's PC, man. They got some guy made a fucking Need for Speed Underground video, and it took me about 5 minutes in to realize that was for the fucking movie editor inside of GTA has a movie editor. So you can make your own. You can make your own cinematic, like and they got the fucking mud. Like the cars are like look like better than like it's like, dude, they done made a game inside of a game inside of a game, and like so now it's like the game is the modders, man, which is why I like PC and kind of like why I like Android, because you know even though I don't mod it, but it's like you get the apples, man, and just keep you in that fucking dead lane and you can't veer out of there. I think the Apple G5 was like one of the first that I recall, like being where you could pull a desktop out and fold it down, and they had the RAM and the other ones where it's just like a sealed box and there's no maintenance. They put on there like nothing can be maintenance by you. by the customer. But I like GTA and stuff like that. I'm not a hardcore gamer, but it just seemed like things are changing towards, like you say, the online thing. If it ain't got online support or community, it's not going to do well. And
that's the community or make or break a game. Like, it really, really, really can. And being overseas, you end up playing with a lot of different people, so you get to see different sides of it. I've played the U.S. side. I've been in the U.S. side.
Yeah.
And then when I play private servers for, like, say, World of Warcraft and Classic, maybe it's a Russian server or an EU server or something. So you get to play with a lot of them. Most of them speak English, but you'll see all the multilinguals going on in there. But then you get to see the norms within the community.
Right.
And, like, playing Call of Duty, and you get to see the norms within the Japanese gaming community, and every one of them has something unique. And I'll tell you something the Japanese were good at, like very, very good at, was when they would play Modern Warfare, running crews. People, you'd play with the randoms, but then you'd get into them dudes that would run crews that was like they were playing the BB gun stuff in real life, and they was doing the same, and they would be running like Navy SEALs running through the game all together. So if you even got one killed before they can capture you, the other three were there waiting, like you were done. And they were just crazy. But then, like, everyone has its own unique feel and mood to it. So one thing that I can say that I didn't see as prevalent in the overseas gaming that I see stateside is the spoiled little punk-ass kids. They cuss in their mouth off, they're popping and doing that. They don't... It doesn't seem so
this is part of the... That wasn't... I don't think, like, because I think that's when... Because I think PCs were definitely online way before, the LAN parties and stuff like that with the mics. That was so like and that's why I kind of can see a lot of the older PC guys, like they're like, these fucking guys, man, like they're online acting like they're representing the gaming community because they're gaming, and these young guys, man, are getting on and they're like throwing around N bombs and whatever. It's like, because this is the cool thing to do. You know what I mean? And it's like it's the new social media.
That what do they call it?
Anonymous, whatever word.
So, and that's one of the things that people are gonna have to break out of about a computer. You just gotta understand, man. We're all just in a coloring box, man. We're just a different color, but we all made by the same shit, blood and flesh. There's not a single person here that isn't made with blood and flesh. And we all have similar interests. You don't see a bunch of racist ass bullshit at car meets.
You don't.
And at LAN parties, you don't see a bunch of racist ass bullshit. So why, when you get on a computer and somebody you don't know, then all of a sudden you let a side out that you shouldn't even have.
Like then in the most, like we talking about the dude PewDiePie or whatever.
PewDiePie.
Like, that was not only you're a gamer, but like you're the top gamer in the world and a top YouTube channel in the world, and then like you got millions of people watching you, dude, and like he let that out. And I think I don't know.
He did it as a joke.
Yeah,
but I can understand it, but you gotta. You don't alienate your fan base.
Yeah, he got a different. His platform is bigger.
Well, how do we do it? Like the Captain Marvel movie. I understand her stance. I understand her feminist stuff going on, but you got to realize your fan base. Your object is to make that money for that company and for you. And I've always said it, and people don't want to agree with it or whatever, but you can have your beliefs. You can do whatever. But if your beliefs fuck up the company you're working for, they have the right, and they will terminate your ass if it fucks them up. And you know what drives all companies is that almighty
dollar.
The dollar, that greenback. So if you start fucking with that, then don't be surprised if they come off and just let your ass go. And then you get these, we'll save so-and-so or do this or that. Bruh, I'm sorry. Run a business and let that motherfucker that was doing something that you understand, but it starts hurting your business heavily. Right. And you start suffering in a way, you're going to let them go.
Yeah, it's not, the object is not to lose money, man. You want to make money. So you definitely want to do that. Yeah.
That's the ugly side of the PC thing, man. We all like to build them. We all like to have fun. I like watching all the cosplay and the people that build all these costumes and stuff, the dudes and the females. They put forth all that effort, and they just all seem to get along. But then same people can get online, and then it's N-bomb this, or as they say, the salty cracker that,
It's that thing, man. It's just like that, man. Because people, I think those type of people, man. They're the softest guys when you meet them in person. Like, oh no, I wasn't like that. Because I told you before, man. Online when shit first came out, and then Zelvia came out, Nico's 240, all those clubs, I was on it back in the day. And then like people were talk shit and like, dude, we're in the same city. And we go to the same fucking car meet. So I'm going to see you, and I'll say like, I'll see you. Then I see the guys all white march or whatever or whatever. Like, hey man, so like, what was the deal with that? Because number one, they don't know my. Not that it has anything to do with it, but like a fucking 245-pound linebacker and shit. And I just happen to be in the cars. So when I go to the car meet, like who the fuck's this guy, man? I'm like, hey, man, I know who you are and shit. Like, what was up with the? Oh no, man, it wasn't like that and like that. Like online, it was like you were kind of like, and I'm like, hopefully you learned a lesson, man. Like, you're not the online stuff, man. The world is small, man. Even if you're in a different
research, man. So.
And it's not. I mean, I'm not the type of person that's gonna go after somebody with that much amount. We got cars to build, man. We ain't got, but some people don't got that outlet, and they're just fucking, motherfucking shooting up people, man. It's different.
That's just the way society in general is gone, man.
Yeah.
That's the one drawback that I've always thought about computers was it gives people that ability to hide behind a handle, so you can hide and you can run your mouth. But the issue is that some dudes know how to run IPs, man. Somebody knows how to do tracers.
What's that? The swatting.
Yeah. And that became a big one. But these people know how to figure out where you're at. You piss off the wrong person, they might come pay you a visit, And then what are you going to do? I seen, and it's funny, I hate to say this, but I seen some guy post up, and he said, if your kid's bullying my kid, I'm coming to your house and whooping your entire family's ass. That's an open invitation for you to come, and I'm going to body you.
Right.
You coming to my house, you're going to take what your kid said at face value, and instead of coming like an adult and talking, you coming with violence. So violence will be met with violence.
Right.
And 90% of people are going to be like, all right, my kid might have been an asshole. You could come and talk to me about it, and I'm going to give him the old school ass whooping he deserves. But you come in talking about you going to hurt people, and I got a wife and a
you're going to protect. Everybody's going to protect their own.
Yeah, you damn straight. People going to catch it. And everybody's like, well, you just, and my personal favorite about this is some ladies like, well, you just got a small dick. That's the first place you go, broad, is my dick, because this man's threatening my wife and kids because he thinks that, hypothetically speaking, that my kid was bullying him. I know my kid ain't do that shit. He know better. I kill him. But, hypothetically, he was saying anybody's kid, Instead of coming and talking like an adult, you result straight to violence.
Right.
Okay, so when you come to my house and you get beat by that bat, and I'm not going to have no patience with you. And here in Japan, let me tell you, gaijin, they don't give two shits about you in that aspect.
Yeah.
So you catch an ass whooping as a gaijin, cops just going to laugh at you.
Yeah. That's very.
So it's, that internet be giving them people that digital courage. Like alcohol gives you liquid courage. Like digital courage. Just settle down and enjoy the game and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you have to resort to that, man? Ugh, dude. Like, build a computer. Build your car. Have fun. Don't worry about the rest of that crap. And bring in the politics. I don't want to know about your politics. I want to know how much boost you running, how much RAM you got, what kind of tune you did, or is this your car? How'd you get the fitment,
Right.
And me, I'm big on fitment. I hate spacers. So I was like, look at my fitment. You running spacers? That ain't fitment. That's garbage. And so they're like, oh, they get hurt. But just keep that crap out of there, man, and teach your kids to keep that crap out of there.
People just, it seems like, man, look, even on fucking Facebook, and again, another blessing and a curse thing, man. It's like, for me is the business thing. Without the social media and Instagram and stuff like that, that really, I'm using that to my advantage. I kind of grew up in the digital age, and a lot of guys who were like, I mean, you're older, but you still maintain it. But some guys in the same place, man, they don't know how to fucking do anything. They don't know how to build computers and things like that. So some guys stayed on it, some guys didn't. And it works out. And it's like, seemed like everything it could be like, somebody could put like I watched a video the other day, man, and it was kind of, being a dad now, like, it kind of made me like kind of emotional, man. It was the guy, just Army Ranger son, came back from the year tour. And his son, and the guy was sparring with, I don't know, you probably seen, he was
blindfolded.
Yeah,
so
he's blindfolded. He's like, Daddy. And like the thing about it, when I was deployed those times, I didn't have kids. Whatever. What I'm getting at is like, that fucking video, man, was about a dude, surprising his son came back and his son crying and everything, and you fucking, I'm like, man, I don't know why you go in the comments, but the wars are bad and he's killed. I'm like, what the fuck, man? It's like people just bring. Like, it's like it could be somebody fucking giving somebody apple pie, dude. Like, Trump likes apple pies and shit. Like, who the fuck gives a fuck, man? Like, people just They just look for it's just motherfuckers out there with it.
Oh, they got that chip.
And then think about it, these motherfuckers got fiber optic connections now, so they just fucking type all the shit they want all day with fucking. They got laptops all around. He just like hating them motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's like DJ table set on.
He's like hate.
Fuck
like
these guys.
It's like hate. They got the motherfuckers that hate one, hate two. They got Instagram up on here. They got Facebook up on here. They just like it's like motherfuckers just wake up. Now obviously, I mean, like you see dumb shit out there. I'm like, and I found myself like, I got time out. I'm on the toilet. I'll comment on it. That's honestly, most times you see me chatting or whatever. I'm on the toilet or whatever. But like you see these motherfuckers with this crazy camera or whatever. Like, hey man, it's just not me. You know what I mean? And it's like,
dude, I like giving them shit, dude, just to be giving them shit, man.
Yeah, I had Vickers on here, and he was like, yeah, man, he always gives me shit, but he's cool about it. He knows you. He know your intentions, but then some guys really take it to heart. Like, why not both? And I'm like, well, you want to do that, do both. But my style is, personally, me for cars and shit. I just like to do. I like to have, even if it looks. I just like to have anything. My personal stance is, everything I drive and own should be able to go on a track and go around a track. You know what I mean? Even if it's not setting 52 seconds, but it still can go on a track, and you ain't gotta. I mean, you're wasting your tires, man. You're getting like this much tire tread, and you got 235s and like this whole part of the tires in the air.
Yeah.
Like,
I do that, and I'm just messing with them, but I expected them to return fire. I say, that's garbage. Return fire, and I've always said it, and I know guys do it, and I know the reason they do it, but I'm always like, spacers are garbage.
Yeah,
they don't like it.
Right.
But you always want to do that ball, and you always want to do this, but then you see the guys that'll do these wheels, and they'll measure it out, and they realize, okay, this and this and this and this, and here's it is. And then they'll get the wheels. There'll be no spaces, and that shit will be on point. And then some other guy will have the same kind of fitment, but then his wheels won't be as wide, and he's using spacers to bring them out.
Right.
And then you're like, all right, so which one did it better? Well, obviously the guy with no spaces, he got more meat on the ground, and
then also, like, I've in a drift, it's like application, because I've seen like even Daigo's that Gallardo.
Yeah,
that motherfucker had like 50 millimeter spacers on it.
Big time.
Yeah, and the thing about his spacers, and then because the thing about anybody, if you're gonna run them. Well, if you don't have to run them for your application, buy the fucking right size wheels. Get the right size wheels, like your Chaser had, no spaces on it, fucking flush. Which I'm gonna get with you offline, because Phil wants to. He got the Phil Simpson.
Yeah.
He was like he wants to flush shut. I was like, dude, he had a flush. I mean, like, it was nice, like, and there was nothing on it.
Paper only, man.
So he got that, and then but buying spacers as a result of mistake, buying bad wheels is not cool. And then buying I remember DC, man, he was at MSP, can get his wheel off. He bought and if you buy one, buy H&R or some real shit that's lug or hub centric with the ring. Yeah. Like that shit that off of eBay, man, like that shit that's your life, man. And he couldn't get the bolt off because the shit was just.
It's funny because a lot of guys don't know the difference between a hub centric and a lug centric wheel, and they have them here. The Volks.
A lot of people don't know shit about hub. They think all wheels are. They don't know like a 73.5, 73.2.
Yeah.
The hub, you can't force a 68 millimeter hub on a fucking 73. It's not gonna.
Right.
It's not gonna work. And I mean, you can of course put a bigger one on there, but then it's not. You gotta rely on the 45 degree conical shit that motherfuckers don't know about. Then they'll have like that. They'll have like those wheels up top. When I got those, I didn't know those. I didn't know you needed those 45 degree, because if you put those fucking little tuner lugs in it, it goes right in the middle, and it's like the fucking wheel was like moving around. Then I didn't know. And I was like, what the fuck? And I went.
You gotta have the ones that taper down. Those are lug centric.
Yeah, I went to Summit, and I got those three, and they're 45 degree.
Yeah.
Or 60
so the lug nut actually goes all the way through and then contacts the hub and centers the wheel.
And then centers the wheel. So then you see all the holes, the biggest shit on those, the NASCAR wheels, and that Aero Racing. And and then a lot of guys don't know stuff about that. They just, again, I made a mistake. Everybody has. Normally you learn from it. They were 17 by 7, like fucking plus 50. And I was like, man, I got some new wheels. And I put those bitches on the 240, and it was worse than the fucking stock wheels. It's like the body was here and the wheels were like in here. And it's like, where the fuck are your wheels at, man? So, and I could, back then, spacers was not a thing. I think you had like the The spacers weren't there. That wasn't the thing.
I just give people shit. I expect them to fire back, but they take that shit to heart, and that's
paper thin, man.
Yeah, don't take that shit to heart. Fire back, man. Crack some jokes. Make fun because I drive a Subaru or whatever. You know, I've driven their own just about everything. You know, Chasers I've had them, Evos I've had them. You know, Subarus I've had them. You know, I've had just about S chassis I've had them. I've even driven Skylines, but you know, just enjoy it. I've always owned a Subaru because to me Subaru is a very, very fun car to drive.
Right.
It isn't. I know that it is not the fastest car or the greatest car on the planet. I've never said that. Yeah. And I definitely know I'm not the best driver on the planet. I just like to drive fast.
Right.
Okay, that's my thing. I just want to go fast. I'm Ricky Bobby. You know, I just want to go fast. You know, but if I fire up and say, "Oh, your shit's garbage," we'll come back. Oh, that fucking piece of shit Subaru's blowing ringlands or something. No, man, don't be like, "Oh, fuck you, guy. You're just like, a hater." He's like, "I'm gonna go to ice." Like, but the sad part is when I fire at them, they want to come back, and they know that it's just gonna be a constant like joke fest there. Yeah. But when you fire at somebody, you expect them to do it. I think a lot of people get nervous. Knowledge is up here, and they're down here, and they know that I'm gonna get you. In the end, that knowledge and time, you know.
Yeah, so it's like then you go from like I don't know how many people like I'll bring in like, oh man, I don't like guys like dude, trust me, you whatever you don't like about them or whatever is your misunderstanding, like something. Then they don't tell me what it is, and I'm like, yeah, dude, he was fucking with you, dude. Like, oh yeah, I thought he was for real. Like, nah, dude, he was fucking with you, man. Like people, they just like, I'm gonna tell like, you're not even military anymore. They want to take you to IG and shit. Like, good luck with that shit. I got a DD 4214, you know.
I got a DD 214
and I'm collecting money from the VA, so yeah.
You know, like getting salty and shit, man. Like,
yes, that's for that reason, man. Like you said, the whole social media stuff, man, is why I don't you just kind of watch. You have to watch what you share and stuff now, man, because people they'll see they know this shit's in progress, whatever you're doing, and they just jump on you like, hey man, you ain't doing this. I'm like, dude, can't you see I got fucking? You can tell when the shit's not finished. And my thing is, if it's in a garage, it ain't finished. You know what I mean? So don't take it as, you know, that's the final product or like, you know, showing stuff people that. So
well, you know, they fail to realize you still got a life and a business to run. You can't just drop off. I mean, I'm not making money like, what was it, Gas Monkey Garage or you know, Boyd Coddington Racing or even I can't even remember the other cat's name that was doing it. I'm not making that kind of money, so I just can't just have a bunch of my guys that don't exist do the work while I go ahead and just work on my own personal project. I have to make time for that. And then I'm also a family man like you, so you know, I have it. And there was a point last year where I like put my nose to the grind. Like I went ballistic. And you know, you do it too. And you know, you'll notice something will happen and you realize that you need to pump them brakes and then back off. So it was like 7 days a week nonstop. And I didn't know how long this was going on. And it was at least 6 weeks, 7 days a week. And then my daughter had taken a picture. I'd gotten her one of these little things, cameras for Christmas. And I was doing it up and down around the Christmas time frame. And she'd gotten one of them new style Polaroid cameras for Christmas. And she'd taken a picture of me like shit on, and I had this like flannel shirt on. I looked like an old man. My stomach looked like it was out to here, you know? Yeah. And she put it in her wallet, and she kept it in her wallet. And my wife asked her, and she told me about it. She's like, why do you keep Daddy's picture in your little wallet? And my daughter's 7, you know? She says, well, Daddy's working all the time, and he's never home, so I don't get to see him. So when I miss Daddy, I can just open the wallet and see him. And that was the moment. That was the breaks for a minute. I was like, yeah. Okay.
Because they grow up fast, man. I'm you know, I got 2 and 1 on the way, and yeah, man, that's
and I realized I was like, you know what, all the money I'm making and all the time I'm putting in ain't worth me not seeing her. So I had to do the double foot like the old lady panic stop. I was like, man, I like this money, but my baby girl, you know, and my son, like, you know, they growing up and missing it. You know, you need to pump them brakes and slow down a bit. And so I had to, you know, that was that moment where I was like, yeah, okay, you know, all jokes aside, projects aside, and, you know, everything's just got to be put off to the side and start doing the family thing again. So, yeah, that's what a lot of people don't, I think they don't see that. They don't understand that if you got a family or especially if you're running a business.
Responsibilities, man, the stuff that I see now, I would like back, you know, it's a few things that, you know, and that's one thing you learn, never to say never. You just maybe it's not going to happen now. Or you like never say, I'm never going to talk to that guy again or some shit like that. Because something happened where you had to talk to that guy again or whatever. But one thing is like before I had kids and family, I was like, man, I'll never sell my shit. And I didn't. I was in the car game, well over 18, 19 years, and I sold my first car was a R32. It's the first car I've ever sold. I mean, cause I collected them, and I felt like, if I worked hard to get them, I should keep them. But then like, but now with the family, man, I sold that, and I'm like, I told Shinobu, she actually was starting to cry because she seen me build it, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, we getting this money to take care of bills, and I was like, look, man, I'll be in a place where I can get this back. You know what I'm saying? And then it worked out that the guy that I sold it to, we're business partners now, real good buddies, and he knew I didn't want to sell it. He knew it, and I went there and I would go to the shop and I would see it. I wouldn't want to look at it, and I was like, fuck, man, that was used to be my car, man. And then he like looked at me and smiled, and then like sure enough, man, he knew it, and he just wanted to see my reaction to it, and then we became good business partners, and he was like, hey man, you want the S2000 back? I was like, yeah, but I can't pay you right now. I was like, just pay me, and I'll pay him back for it, how much he bought for it, same price, because he didn't do anything to it, and he took the turbo and stuff off it, and it's, the wing is gone. He sold the wing, and so he was like, just pay me back whenever, man. And I was like, not whenever, but in stages, and that's what I showed her. I was like, look, man, what I told you in 6 months, I got the car back, man. You know what I mean? So.
Man, mine's the same way. She's like, why do you keep selling your stuff? I said, it's my stuff. Don't worry about it.
It's not like you can't do it again. Like, only thing that was a little bit different is their 2.2 build.
Yeah. She's like, why are you always selling your stuff? I was like, hold on. First off, the majority of the stuff that I sell just been sitting around chilling.
Right.
And then I finally get my mind made up. The problem is I get my mind made up. I get all the stuff I need. I get ready. And then an offer comes. And I'm like, man, I really want to do this, but that money's really nice, and I'll sell it, and then I'll get something else, and then I'll sell it, and I'll get something else. Like, I've been back since 2009. Yeah. Like, I went to the States for a year and a half while they mad boarded me. I've been back. I've been through a dozen cars since 2009. Right. 12 cars, man. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's like kind of like you trade up. Like, I was watching this. It's new. I'm new to Netflix, guys. Finally got on Netflix, and like, holy shit, man, that's dangerous. Now all these shows in there and everything, and there was another show in there where it's like looks like it's kind of, I don't know the name of it, but they were pretty much they would build and trade up and trade down, and they were building some nice shit, man. And they got it's the one with the chick on it. I think it's probably the only one. She got some real big.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, God damn, man. So I was like, so Shinobu was behind me. I'm like looking at. Speaking of that, man. Actually, like on that, man. I remember before I met you, man. The first time I seen your name was you like it was you were arguing with, and I know it's probably like you were arguing with that thing Eric, and she's like son. He's like, and I was like, and before and it was like he kind of knew where you're coming from. He's like, yeah, and I don't. He's like, man, you ain't gotta say how big your wife tits are, man, because he was like, because he's like, I guess you would say it to guys or whatever, man. So that was like the first. I was like, who the fuck's this guy, man? But yeah, man, that was pretty crazy, man. But hey, man, we've been doing this like almost 2 hours now, man. Definitely been a good time. I mean, definitely going in. We knew each other, man, but I definitely picked up some more stuff and everything. So definitely not gonna be the last time. This one again, like I said, you got the slip shine going on, and like I said, I really foresee, man, like you definitely getting and when I got between the shops now, I see stuff. So, and I'll offline, I'll talk to you about that, because that's kind of like classified stuff about some shops and stuff I see coming up for sale. Because again, man, I definitely, man, I see you having your own set up and shop.
I'm at that point now where I'm just like done.
Shit,
like, I want people to do the work, and I don't want to do it no more. So.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and then I've had, since I've been at this shop, I've had a few people like message me like they want like Japanese. I had 2 Japanese guys. Like, I was shocked. So it's like if they message me to know about the shop, then they know about this. It exists. Yeah. And it seems like everybody here in Misawa knows it exists, but they like playing dumb. The Evo I got, the monster one.
Yeah.
That's the one that was sitting up there. Yeah. And that guy never. And now he's like, he's a real cool guy, man. I never talked to him, and he drove the car here and walked back to his shop, and like that type of shit. You wouldn't get that. Ain't nobody in the States going fucking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, what I mean? And he's the owner. You know what I mean? So we bought my Allen of Bridge Motor bought that car. So it's other than the monster stickers, it's legit. It's legit.
Nice.
It's a good car. So we're gonna take all the stuff I get ready for Tsukuba and stuff like that. But anyway, man, yeah, it's just yeah. Just my thing is just growing a business. You know, the setbacks are going to happen. I had some emails this morning about some stuff regarding shipping stuff, and the thing about it, you brief these people, brief guys, and it's like one in out and one you know in one ear and out the other ear, and because of shipping stuff, and the guys out there that are watching with the shipping stuff, businesses are going to always change. So the rules that were set forth for the military stuff that was set for years, now they're changed. Now they're changing to make more money. So now they're making dudes get brokers, which that wasn't a thing before. 25-year-old car was you go down there with all your shit, or somebody goes on there for you with all the papers and pick it up. Now one of my guys has hit me up saying that they're requiring it because guess what? The broker's attached to there, so everybody's getting paid, man.
So it's always some line in somebody's pocket.
Yeah, so everybody's getting paid. You know,
gotta grease them wheels, baby.
You got to, man. So yeah, that's it. I'm kind of only we'll start talking more, but yeah, guys out there, go ahead and check out for the guys that come into Masawa. Go ahead and check out Slipshine, correct?
Yeah,
Slipshine, and I'll put the link down in the page so you guys can see that. And then yeah, man, just definitely you know, detailing is what he does. Get pretty knowledgeable in the card game and all that stuff. So definitely hit him up for all your stuff. But within reason, you got Google out there. Use that shit, man. So you know what I mean? Because I've been in the game now it's crazy, man. Almost crazy, dude. Almost 21 years now, and I still utilize it. You know, it's you got to be careful what you're reading out there because everything is not gospel. But with the knowledge you already have, you already know that's bullshit. You can toss it to the side or whatever. But yeah, man. Yeah, definitely do that. So anyway, guys, check out this. It's going to be episode number 13 now. 12 is going to be up by the time this comes up and live and everything. So again, thank you guys for taking the time out to you know, view this podcast or listen to it. For the guys on SoundCloud, I will move over to Spotify and probably iTunes here soon, but I want to get a few more episodes in before I submit those because you need to get approved to be on the iTunes and stuff like that. So anyway, it's going to again be Donald Jackson with my guy here, Mike Hendrix, signing off from Pinku Style Massage Japan, and we'll see you guys later. So peace and thanks for tuning in.